who was it's not named after Denzel, by the way.
Okay.
All right. And when you were talking about Denzel, I was thinking about Denzel in Only Fools and Horses as well. So it could be construed in any way. So congratulations to Elliot and Brittany, who've given birth to Denny, and he was born 12 hours after what would have been his great-grandfather's 95th birthday. They're in hospital, hopefully listening. Brad is listening in the queue to get in to the game. So congratulations to all of you on that fantastic news. And no doubt, and there is no doubt, he will be red and white from henceforth on, and he will be attending Sunderland games as soon as he's able to walk.
Very soon.
Congratulations.
Before he can walk.
Before he can walk, indeed. Right, this afternoon, 2 changes. Mundell and Hamir come in for Barr and Rusin. Norwich City make 1 change. Barnes is in this afternoon. And joining us on the line now, all the way from, I dare say, I was going to say sunny southwest Scotland. Having seen the forecast and the snow on the fells in Cumbria, I suspect that Rob Mason might be under 6 inches of snow. But we'll find out. Rob Mason, Sunderland's club historian, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Nick. I'm pleased to say that it has been very sunny here this morning. I've been out and about, but it is starting to darken and get a bit cloudy now, but it's been lovely this morning, unexpectedly.
Oh, who would expect anything else on the Solway Riviera? You've been away. Not much has happened since you left these shores.
Yeah, I've spent the last 2 weeks visiting family in Vancouver. So the 3 o'clock kickoffs have been 7 a.m. kickoffs for myself and my son and my grandson. My little grandson, who's 19 months old, would be there in his red and white stripes nonetheless. He's been trained how to celebrate a goal. He goes get in and shakes his arms about. Hopefully he'll be doing that this afternoon, because my son and grandson will be up watching for a 7 o'clock kickoff in Vancouver. And yeah, I've seen the games. I know it's not been good. We're looking for a bit of an improvement this afternoon at Carrow Road, where, as you know, Nick, we've got a good recent record.
Yes, very much so. And while you're away, Michael Beale left. Mike Dodds is back in charge again. Someone was saying Michael Beale, I think, was the 22nd manager since 2010. But anyway, look, we've moved on now. We've got Mike Dodds in a position. I don't know what your take is on the rest of the season, because those 3 defeats to Huddersfield, Birmingham and Swansea, probably now with Clark being out as well and Roberts out, a lot of talk about the season now plateauing out, and it's just a case of playing for pride.
I don't go along with that at all. As far as I'm concerned, the season is alive until it's mathematically impossible to actually get into the playoffs. History is littered with teams who've been nowhere at this stage of the season and have gone on a good run and sneaked into 6th place, and then have gone on from 6th place being the team with momentum to win the playoffs. Look at when Crystal Palace beat us in 2004 in the playoffs, having sneaked into 6th place on a late run in the season. Obviously, we've got so many injuries. Last season was horrendous for injuries. I thought it can't be as bad again, but it pretty much has been. And losing Clark, in addition to losing Roberts and losing everybody else, means that you look at that team now and everybody has a different viewpoint on what would be their strongest 11. But I think from mine, the 6 of that team that are starting this afternoon that would be in my strongest 11 if everybody's fit. But who knows, we've got opportunities for players to come in. I heard you earlier, yes, you're quite right, in Lewis Hamir hasn't started a game since the opening day of the season, and he was subbed just after an hour in that game. But he did well in pre-season. He got 3 or 4 goals in pre-season, and it's a big, big opportunity for him. I've also quite liked the look of what I've seen of Mundell so far. I think he looks quite dynamic and exciting. Hopefully he can produce something for us this afternoon. Callum Styles, I think, is still a bit of a mystery. I've seen what he's done so far, but you know, we'll see what he can bring to the table in the next 90 minutes and in the remaining games. But I certainly don't take the view that the season is over. Has the season taken a significant downturn? Yes, of course it has, and I think it's been doing that for quite some weeks. But we're still in the mix, and I don't think we should be giving up. I think we should be fighting like hell to claw every single point we can. And yes, there's some very, very difficult games coming up this week. But if we're going to just roll over and say, oh, well, that's it, we're done and dusted, walk all over us, well, that's not what Sunderland Football Club should be all about. We should be fighting for every single thing we can get.
I think we're going to send you down to the dressing room. You can give the pre-match speech. We've got to squeeze it quite a lot in before 3, but I want to ask you, because Benno and I were chatting about this earlier on, the Friendly Cup, it's still a tradition between the two teams, but with what it is now, it's the result of this game, isn't it? Will depend on where the cup actually ends up.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. But yes, it is still played for. It's a nice touch. And obviously, you know, as you will know, and as most of the listeners will know, that stems from the 1985 League Cup final. Sunderland have only been in 2 League Cup finals, and the other one, is, I'm sure, has been mentioned some point on Total Sport this week, not that I've been able to hear it. It's 10 years today since Sunderland were at Wembley in the other League Cup final we played in, when we played Manchester City. And, the Friendly Cup, you know, it's always nice to win it. But really, it's not the winning of it that matters. The cup is there to show the bond that still, I think, exists between the supporters of Sunderland and Norwich City, because that was an occasion. You've always got to remember, at that time, Gary will remember the semi-final of that season against Chelsea. We scored when there was a police horse on the pitch. There was so much hooliganism at the time, and in contrast, the Sunderland and Norwich final of 1985 was played in the most sporting of manners. The fans were excellent with each other. Sunderland supporters took the defeat with grace, as Norwich did when they lost the semi-final of the FA Cup to Sunderland 7 years later, and that bond between the supporters always exists. And it's nice to go to a club where there's a mutual liking of the supporters, and that's what the Friendly Cup's all about.
Fantastic. Good to have you back, Rob. We'll see you on Tuesday night against Leicester. Rob Mason, Sunderland's club historian, joining us on BBC Radio Newcastle. The 2 changes that we were referring to, Mundell and Hamir for Sunderland, Barnes for Norwich City. Let's hear for the first time this afternoon from the Sunderland interim head coach, Mike Dodds.
Mike, firstly, Jack Clarke, what's actually unfolded there? Because you were fairly sanguine at the last weekend, that you're going to be okay, and now it's the opposite. He's out for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he played 90 minutes at Birmingham, and obviously rolled his ankle in the game. And the you know, even when I spoke to Jack himself in the week, as I said, the plan was for him to train later on in the week, but the swelling just didn't come down. But you know, Jack was fairly upbeat, and I think the kind of feedback was a semi-positive one. I won't say it's positive because obviously you haven't got Jack Clarke training, but the plan was obviously to give him the weekend, and I think it came to early in the week, and the rate of progress wasn't what we expected or hoped. So we made a decision for him to go and see a specialist on Wednesday morning to find out what was going on, and obviously the feedback's the feedback, which is look, it's a crushing blow, but at the same time, you know, I've got to control the controllables, and it's something now for the next 6 weeks that won't be in my head or my thoughts. Like I've said 1,000 times, you know, it's not just a blow for I mean, it's a massive blow for us, but Jack Clarke would be a blow for any team in this league. So yeah, look, it's for someone that's coming into the role, you know, a week into the role, it's not the news you want. But at the same time, obviously I processed it yesterday morning when the physio department told me the outcome. And then probably from yesterday afternoon onwards, it was full focus on, right, we haven't got him now, I've got to control what I can control. And let's prepare the team to go to Norwich and come back with 3 points.
And knowing now that he's out for that length of time, you've got to think about his replacements. Have you got it in your mind now? You can focus on, right, it'll be X, and I will concentrate on him coming into the team, and he will stay in that position to get him up to speed. Because I'm doubtless you probably won't say who you've got in mind, because you don't want to give anything away to Norwich. But can you plan in that sense? Yeah,
to a degree. I mean, we plan. We plan game to game in terms of our day-to-day focus, obviously, but obviously we try and have future games in our kind of eye line. And look, some weeks, we might play with wingers, some weeks we won't play with wingers. So in terms of a direct replacement for Jack, no. Let's not beat around the bush. There isn't a direct replacement, not just in this football club, but probably in the whole league. For me, he would definitely be in the top one or two wingers in the league, and you could argue if you were picking the best players in the league, he would be in that argument. So in terms of replacing Jack Clarke for Jack Clarke, that isn't going to happen. But what we have to try and do is come up with maybe a slightly different way of playing. We need to come up with some other ideas to try and get the most out of the other players that we got that can play in those areas of the pitch.
You spoke last week about, and when you were last in charge, about being attack-minded, about wanting to play on the front foot. But losing a player like Jack, who is very much your attacking outlet, are you minded now to think, right, look, this next week, for starters, the 3 games you've got, do you think about being more defensive now and saying, right, look, let's just be difficult to beat rather than the side that goes all out to attack?
Yeah, it was similar to the question I got asked last time. I think there's got to be a strap line in all the games of what Sunderland are. I don't think we can be passive in any of the games. And I think one of the questions I got asked last week was the Leeds game where I think the question implied that we kind of sat off them, and I think if you watch that game back, we denied them space, but when the ball went into certain areas of the pitch, we were really aggressive, and we were a little bit more on the front foot. So that it might be a case of we might have to concede some territory, but in terms of a Sunderland team, we can't be passive, and we won't be passive.
You've got
in terms of how we approach the game.
I'm a bit crack on with you guys, and I'll put myself on mute.
So regardless of Jack Clarke or not Jack Clarke, we've still got to have a running thread of how we want Sunderland to look, and that's something that is going to be my responsibility for the next 12 games to find a solution to that. And I'll be honest with you, I'm looking forward to the challenge. It's going to be a real challenge for me. I think it would be a real challenge for the most experienced coach who could sit here, and when you take someone of his quality out of your armoury, you could have the most experienced coach in the world sat here, and it would be a challenge. But that's something that I'm kind of I'm looking forward to over the next period, and it's something that I won't leave any stone unturned to find a solution, to make sure that we go into every single game with the mindset that we're going to win the game.
Total Sport North East. Whenever Newcastle and Sunderland play at the same time, you'll find our black and white commentary on FM and our red and white commentary on DAB and Freeview, channel 719.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Going to hear from Callum Styles in a moment, but I wanted to mention a message I had today from Dave Nesbitt. He's a Sunderland fan. He's a member of the Sunderland Heaven branch, which you can find on their website, SAFC Heaven branch. If you look for that, and you'll see what that's all about. He wanted to publicise an exhibition he's setting up today in Billingham Library, and it's to celebrate the work of a close friend, Peter Hodgson, who sadly passed away a year ago. And although he's a Borough fan, he did a lot for the Billingham Strollers, over 35s football team. It was a team that was made up from local high-level non-league players, plus some of the ex-professionals in the area. The Strollers were the national Umbro over 35 champions, 92, 93, 94, 96 and 98. Also went on to be the over 40s champions in 1999 and 2000. They played in 2 grand finals at the Old Wembley against the winners of the ex-professional competition. Ilkeston Town, made up of ex-Derby County Nottingham Forest Stars, were beaten 1-0. The following season against ex-Blackburn Rovers stars, the Billingham Strollers drew 1-1, but they kept the title, being the holders. And this exhibition at Billingham Library runs from Monday the 4th until the 16th of March, with a possibility of a return. So if you get the chance, please do get along to have a look at that. Ironically, Norwich City play Middlesbrough on Wednesday night at the Riverside. So more than happy to give your exhibition a shout out, Dave, and fingers crossed plenty of people get along to see it. Right, last weekend, despite defeat, a debut for Callum Styles against Swansea City, after which I caught up with the Sunderland midfielder.
Callum, not the debut you probably wanted, but the other side of the coin is you're probably delighted actually to get on the pitch and get some game time.
Yeah, exactly. It was earlier than expected, my return. I've worked hard to get back to fitness. Obviously the result isn't what everyone wanted, but to be on the pitch and in front of the fans is my goal, and yeah, I've achieved it, and hopefully many more to come.
And how have the last couple of weeks been? I mean, but the last thing you expected was to have to go to hospital and have an operation.
That was a shock. As obviously this was going on in the background, but you just got to overcome that and get back to what you're doing, and I have done.
Where do you see your position? Because there's been so much debate over that in the last couple of weeks. Because some here saying you're left back, left wing back. Here in Barnsley, fans saying you're more of a 10, more of an attacking midfielder.
I've played every position you can imagine. I'm obviously a midfielder, but I've played a lot at left wing back as well. So I think managers seem to know I have I can play a lot of positions, and it can be a hindrance, it can be a positive. But I'd like to operate in more central areas, yeah.
Was it important for you as well to move, and a lot has obviously been made of this because it's so unusual, the fact that you're a Hungary international, was it important for you to move to the Championship to basically make sure your international career stays on track?
Yeah, of course, that's obviously in the back of my mind. But when Championship clubs want you, it's kind of hard to not to turn
yes,
that
coming
down.
up on the lot of football apps that Hayes is
obviously,
taking charge at today's game and
Sunderland
not
have been
Dodds. I
sniffing
don't know whether
around for a
Dodds is doing
while,
well or something.
I want to play as high as possible. There's obviously other factors that clubs get into, etc., but that's out of my control, so all I can do is play football on the pitch, and if I get the opportunity to play for a club like Sunderland, a huge club, then I will do.
Mike Dodds just spoke about Nazary Rusin and the fact that being Ukrainian, it's a language. There are still, as he says, speed bumps to get over in that respect.
Yeah.
Is that the same for you when you go away with Hungary? I mean, do you speak any Hungarian?
Yeah, I speak some, but a lot of the lads speak English, so I'm a lot more comfortable speaking English. So literally every conversation is in English. The manager's Italian, so all the meetings are English, which helps a lot.
Nice show yesterday, by the way.
As much we made of that in the dressing room, because I imagine
I just sat and watched it in the background. I was too tired to join you.
What?
Being Hungarian?
No, I don't think you have, to be honest.
Give it time.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's good to be here.
I mean, how have you found it? Because there's a few Yorkshire lads in the dressing room as well.
Yeah, it's a proper welcoming bunch. Obviously a young squad. I'm quite young still. Well, not really in this team, but normally I would be. But now they've been ledge.
And looking at today, looking at the games that are left, I mean, it's been I suppose in so many ways quite a spectacular week for someone who's just come in. The head coach leaves, another one, all that change, and suddenly the prospect of finishing in the top six is looking distant, or would you still feel that you've
Rusty
got
Mackham and Gran Canaria,
a fighting
I call
chance
it
of making the top
it's a
six?
good one.
No, look, the Championship's a unique league. We've seen it before when teams look like they're dragging on, but with just 12 games to go, like there's a lot of points up for grabs. Like last season, nobody really would have thought Sunderland would have snuck in, but they did on the last day. And that's got to be our goal again this season.
And clearly you just mentioned the fact that Sunderland have been sniffing around for a fair while. You must clearly know a lot about the club and the team. And
yeah, obviously you have to live your own life, but you have it in the back of your mind. And yeah, to be at such a big club's just an honour.
Callum Styles spoke to him after the game against Swansea City last weekend. Tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock, Sunderland women are at home against Southampton women. Fortnight ago, they had a 7-goal humdinger against Lewis women, who are bottom of the Championship, and Sunderland managed to score a late winner to win 4-3. And ahead of the game against Southampton, I've been chatting to head coach Mel Ray.
Mel, good to see you. Last game seemed like ages ago. But what a thriller. I don't know if you threw the rule book out the window and just said, just let go for it.
Yeah, it was. I think it does seem quite a long time ago, but yeah, what an unbelievable game to be part of. vitally huge 3 points in the end. We came so close to coming away with nothing. So obviously delighted that we had moments of pure quality to win the game, but overall we were slightly disappointed with the goals.
I thought there was a picture of Michael Babe coming up there.
The first goal was an own goal, which we know we need to defend better. And then the penalty, and they didn't cause any problems at all in the first half, but we found ourselves going in 2-2 at half time, and the response to respond was really good, to get ourselves back in the game, and then going 3-2 down and thinking, oh my God, like we're on the cusp of coming away with nothing, disaster. And then the game changers come on. The contribution from Liz, Katie and Libby was huge for us, and the pure quality of Jenna's strikes got over the line, so it was a big squad performance.
We've spoken before. I remember talking pre-season about what a good team spirit you've engendered here, and I suppose above all else that's just shown in a game like that. The mentality you've got in the team now is second to none.
Yeah, they don't give up, and
do you think these games are dead rubbers
they
now?
are in it together. We've got a big goal that we want to achieve, and some of them came off the pitch really disappointed because they knew they were so close to coming away with nothing, which I think for me going into the next 6 games is a huge learning curve for them, because they know that they've got to be on it to get things over the line. So we were obviously just on reflection just happy to get the 3 points.
It must have been quite interesting, the 2 dressing rooms afterwards, Lewis thinking, what do we have to do to get anything in this league?
Yeah, I think over the last couple of games as well they have conceded really late on in games, and
Coventry,
I just think the energy that
the
the substitutes give ultimately shows that it's a squad effort, and it's not just about the 11 that start the game. It's about the players who come off the bench as well.
And now it's your old friend Southampton. It seems like you play them every week, but at least they're here. You're not having to travel again.
Yeah, I think that's big for us. It's although you can get some benefit out of travelling together. Everyone likes to.
I've got a warning off Anthem Mackin if I miss another one.
Twice before, won one, lost one, and we know what they're about, and we're fully focused to make sure that we can add more points to the tally.
Is there a sense of unfinished business because of the cup defeat?
I think so. We've watched that back again this week, and
we need to win today. Sunderland fans should have stayed at
Sunderland. We definitely should be going in, winning at half time, and we know we have to be ruthless in front of goal, because in these games, no matter who you're playing, you've got to take your chances when you get given them, or ultimately it could kind of bite you on the backside.
It's 6 games I think left now. Does it feel like this is sort of a cup run now? You've got to go into every game and treat it almost like a cup tie?
I think we're really focused on not changing our processes, and they've got to where we are now, and I'm very kind of
not far off from starting.
Clear on kind of the vocabulary that we're using around the squad, and that doesn't change. We're very much sticking to our principles of play, and not all of a sudden bigging up a game where we wouldn't normally. So remaining calm and remaining focused and sticking to processes is important.
It's momentum as well. We use that word, talk about that word a lot, but now with all the stop-start that you've had over the last couple of months, do you just want to get a run of games where you can just be playing week in, week out?
Yeah, in an ideal world, you just play the 6 games, in a 6-week period, and it'll be done. But it's the same for everyone. It's learning how to, overcome them little stop gaps. We had an in-house friendly at the weekend and played a good 90 minutes and got some good physical outputs from it, and that's the ways we've got to keep the team ticking over.
Mel Ray, good luck to Sunderland women tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock at Appleton against Southampton women. We're 5 minutes away from kick-off here at Carrow Road. Norwich City against Sunderland. Let's hear more from the Sunderland interim head coach, Mike Dodds.
Looking back to last weekend, the 3 at the back, which didn't work, are you minded that might work again in the future? Because one key component, if you like, of the back 3 was not having Dan Ballard.
Yeah.
But if Dan's back in the back 4-3, would you be minded to play 3 again, or do you just feel that the 4 is your most solid and safe way of moving forward?
Yeah, no, listen, I'll play a 3 again at some point. I showed last time, and I think I showed on Saturday. I'm not like I said before previously, I'm not at the roulette table. I'm not gambling or risking. It's well thought out. Whatever we come up with, and it would be discussed 1,000 times. And I went with the back 3. the outcome was the outcome. You know, it wasn't a positive outcome. But like I showed last time, that I will make decisions that might be slightly risky to try and get a positive outcome. And like I said previously, if it works, I'm a genius. If it doesn't work, I'm an idiot. And for 45 minutes, I was an idiot. And that's something that I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable sitting in that territory. I'm comfortable sitting in that arena, if that's the right phrase to use. Because I said when I took this role that I'd be authentic to me, and I wouldn't allow anyone to kind of dictate or influence my thought processes, because I do too much preparation. I spend too much time planning training sessions, watching the opposition, looking at our strengths, looking at the weaknesses. And listen, I'm not gonna delve into what happened on Saturday, because it's in the past, and I want to try and obviously look ahead to the next few games. But there were some things tactically I actually quite liked. We just didn't execute it. And regardless of, and that's not an excuse, by the way, because whatever answer I give to what happened on the first 45, all the roads point back to me anyway, so it doesn't really matter what answer I give you. But yeah, to answer your question, I'll go back to a back three if I think it's right for the team.
This next week, I know you're not looking necessarily beyond Norwich, but you've got Norwich, you've got Leicester on Tuesday, and you've got Southampton. 2 of those are away, and I think possibly now, travel has got to be an issue because there's rail strikes and so on. Is that now something you've got to factor in, the miles that you're going to be doing?
Yeah, definitely, and they're all the things that you take into consideration when you're picking a team, when you're picking your shape and your tactics, because we are going to have to utilise the squad over the next 3 games. We're going to need everyone. And it's going to be a tough week, but it's a week that from a personal perspective I'm really looking forward to. I'm coming up against 3 really good coaches that have got not only well coached teams, but they've got really good individuals that can execute the stuff that the coaches want to do. So from a personal perspective, it's going to be a real challenging week. And regardless of what happens, I'll be stronger for it coming out the back end of this week. And we've showed when we've played these 3 teams previously that if we're right at it and we're fully focused, then we can get a positive outcome. So we've shown that when we've played these teams earlier in the season. So there shouldn't be anything to fear. Whether it's naivety or whether it's youth, I'm not going into the games with any fear. I'm respectful of what we're coming up against, because they're 3 really good teams, so I'm respectful of that side, but I'm not fearing the opposition by any way, shape or imagination.
Norwich, their last 2 home games, I think it's 8 goals in the 2 games. I mean, specifically though, I think it's Josh Sargent up front, isn't it, who's the real threat? Is it sort of 10 goals in 16 games?
Yeah, look, they've got good players all over the pitch. We've watched a lot of their games, so they've got a lot of threats. They've got a lot of threats all over the pitch, but we've got to, as I said, we've got to control what we can control. We've got to concentrate on us. They will know that we've got some good players. They obviously played us earlier in the season. We were excellent against them. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the game. I think the group have been excellent this week in training. There's been, regardless of the result, there's been a real vibrancy in terms of the way they've trained. In terms of the tempo and the intensity. So, in terms of me looking from my side of the fence, I see a group of players that are really hungry to get back on the pitch and obviously correct what happened on last Saturday.
Total Sport North East.
Nick Barnes and Gary Bennett, MBE.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Well, the team's out. The weather has taken a turn towards being bitterly cold and wet after a fairly bright morning, actually. And Sunderland in their red and white stripes, black shorts, red socks away to our right, and Norwich City below in front of us, as we look down for what is the main stand, although it's not the tallest stand, are in their canary yellow, green and yellow socks as well. Danny Bart on the bench this afternoon again for Norwich City. Sunderland, Patterson in goal, Hume, Sealt, O'Nien and Hjelde the back four, Neil, Ekwa, Styles, Jobe, Mundle and Hamir as the teams swap ends. So Sunderland will be attacking the River Wensum end of the ground. And the bench for Sunderland this afternoon: Bishop, Pembele, Burstow, Rusin, Barr, Aushish, Rigg, Kelly and Lavery. Norwich, Angus Gunn in goal, back four Jack Stacey, Grant Hanley, Ben Gibson and Dimitris Giannolis. In midfield is Christian Fashnak, Gabriel Sara, Kenny McLean, Borja Sainz up front, Ashley Barnes and Josh Sargent. Though we're waiting to see what the Norwich formation is, whether they are going 4-4-2. Norwich are going to get the game underway, attacking from right to left as we look down from this main stand, and the referee Thomas Kirk gets the game underway. Only his second season in the EFL for Thomas Kirk, who's all in black. Norwich got us underway. The ball is back with Grant Hanley, of course formerly of Newcastle United, but he's the Norwich City captain. He's been injured, he hasn't been back in for long, but straight back into the Norwich starting lineup a few weeks ago, alongside of course Steve Gibson's nephew Ben Gibson, former Middlesbrough centre-half. As Norwich here on the left with Giannoulis, the Greek international left-back, playing the ball back inside to Kenny McLean, and back out on the left here to Gibson, who floats one up for the run here, attempted by Christian Fashnak, but the ball has bounced through to Anthony Patterson, who's all in light blue this afternoon. The Sunderland travelling supporters away on the far side, the hotel in the corner, they're just adjacent to that in the stand opposite us, as the ball floats out here to Hume on the right, nods it back inside to Dan Neal. 0-0 in this opening minute or two earlier. In the lunchtime kickoffs, Bristol City lost at home to Cardiff 1-0. Huddersfield and Leeds drew 1-1. Last night, of course, West Bromwich Albion beat Coventry City 2-1. And that's opened up a bit of a gap between 5th place and 6th place in the top 6.
It's interesting to see the lineup as well, Nick. You know, Styles, he's just sort of playing
wide on this right-hand side.
On the right-hand side, you've got Models playing on the left-hand side.
Jobe in the middle behind Hamir.
And the conditions he's going to play its part this afternoon, Nick, as well. It's very creasy, the surface, still raining.
And very much two up front for Norwich, and it looks as though it is a 4-4-2, I think. Barnes and Sargent, the two, they're pretty close together at the moment up front. You can see the 4 across the middle, the 4 across the back for Norwich City, as the ball just slides off Borja Sainz, the Spaniard, on the wing here. A throw in front of the dugouts for Sunderland on the right, which is taken by Hume in front of Mike Dodds, comes back to Sealt, across to Luke O'Nien at the edge of the penalty area. Barnes in front of him, it's played back to Anthony Patterson. Ashley Barnes, who of course was at Burnley, signed from Turf Moor in the summer. He'd been at Burnley for 9 years. Here's Neil just slipping the ball to Ekwa. Ekwa out wide, then on the left-hand side to Hjelde. Back inside to Ekwa. Jobe now, this is just inside the Norwich City half. And now O'Nien from just left of the centre circle swings a brilliant ball out to Hume, looking to try and get it inside to Hamir at the edge of the penalty area, but knocked out for a throw to Norwich on the left-hand side. Hamir's last start was the first day of the season against Ipswich Town at the Stadium of Light. A chance this afternoon to impress.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to watch his movements, his runs, you know, his retention off the ball.
In the 4th minute for this Norwich throw, 12-15 yards up from the corner flag on the left, taken by Giannoulis. It comes back to the Greek and then swept up by McLean, Kenny McLean, the Scottish international. Barnes tries to knock it down, but Neil intercepts, but it comes back to Grant Hanley. It's identifiable with his beard in the centre of the Norwich defence. And then a free kick for a foul by Gabriel Sara, the Brazilian, on Neil. Quickly taken, Jobe out on the left wing. Jobe now trying to, well, pulls it back to Hjelde, to Ekwa. Down the left again to Hjelde. And wide is Mundle, back to Hjelde. back onto halfway to Ekwa, forwards to Dan Neil. Neil back again into the centre circle to Luke O'Nien. Styles in the middle. Neil just in front of him. Sweeps it out to the left to Hjelde, who's making a run. Leaves it for Mundell, just taps it to Job. Job tried to drive it into the box, but is blocked and be brought out by Kenny McLean. Wide on the right, up towards halfway. Job in front of him, stabs a foot at it and gets it through to Mundell, but he's penalised for a foul on McLean. And a free kick on the right touchline, just in the Norwich half for Norwich City. Birmingham 1, Southampton 0. We travel to Southampton next week. Gibson's under pressure. Millwall 1, Watford 0. Here's Sainz on the left wing, plays it behind him to Giannoulis, back to Gibson, and across to McLean in the middle, pushing it to Gabriel. He looks to get it wide again to Giannoulis in front of Mike Dodds on halfway. Hume forces him back. Gibson floats one up to what must be surely an offside. Sargent, flag comes up. Free kick to Sunderland. Sunderland, who we heard in the build-up talking to Mike Dodds about travel. They came down by coach yesterday, left early afternoon, got here around 8 o'clock last night. Will travel back by coach tonight, and they're in at 12 o'clock to train tomorrow.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
That's the norm, innit?
Patterson taps the ball out to Sealt, forwards to Neil, looking for Styles. Gibson sweeps in, gets the ball straight to Ekwa though. He gets it to Styles. Styles now head up, looking to get it out to Hume on the right wing. Hume gets the ball back off McLean. It goes out for a throw to Sunderland. Back to Neil on the halfway line. He plays it across to Luke O'Nien, just at the back of the centre circle. That was pass over the head of Hjelde and out for a throw to Norwich.
The surface again. Conditions, Nick, it'll just skip off that surface.
Yeah. Not had a lot of rain in the morning, but we're getting a fair bit now this afternoon, as Grant Hanley, 32 years old now, next to the 31-year-old Ben Gibson. Back to Angus Gunn, son of the former Norwich City keeper Brian Gunn, and he plays it out eventually to Gabriel on the left, a foot in from Neil.
Good closing down.
Concedes a throw to Norwich. We're in the 7th minute. Norwich City 0, Sunderland 0. Angus Gunn, like Patterson in light blue, plays the ball out to Hanley, back to Gunn at the edge of his 6-yard box, and he just puts his foot on it. A high press from Hamir and Job. It's played out to Gibson on the left-hand side. Swansea 1, Blackburn 0. Back to McLean, out to Gabriel, left again to Gibson, cut out by Styles, throw to Norwich, taken by Giannoulis, back to Gibson. Gibson back to McLean, who's been busy in this opening 8 minutes. Kenny McLean covered a lot of ground already, and he's bringing this out from the back for Norwich City in the yellow and green, and tries to flick it through to Gabriel, back to McLean, and McLean, Hamir on his shoulder, leaves it for Hanley. Hanley across the 18-yard line to Gibson. Gibson now up to Sargent in the centre circle. The American international has scored 10 goals in 16 appearances after coming back in from injury. The ball driven up by McLean, headed in the air by Hume, headed forwards again in the pouring rain by Sunderland, down the right for Styles, who hooks it up. Hamir heads it on, but Kenny McLean brings it down. Hamir, well, he's running after McLean, but he doesn't seem to be running after him with a great deal of purpose. I'd say he's going through the motions there. And the ball comes down the right wing to Christian Faschnack, the Swiss international, and out for a Norwich throw. Well, we talked earlier in the build-up about Hamir coming from Portugal and the conditions in Portugal. But
all right, look this.
I'll absolutely adore this. It is pouring down and it's freezing cold. And the ball down the right wing here now. It's swept in from the right by Stacey. It's a corner to Norwich City. I think that's Jack Stacey's first touch of the afternoon, the Norwich City right back.
Yeah, and this is where they're going to be in danger, Nick. You know, you've got Hanley, Gibson, you know, 2 big lads. You've got Sargent, Ashley Barnes as well. So you've got 4 6-foot-plus lads there who'll go and attack the ball.
In the 10th minute, first corner, it falls to Norwich. It's from the right in front of the Sunderland fans. Below a big flashing screen. Above the corner taker, Gabriel. He curls this in. It's not a great corner, and it's easily cleared by Dan Neil. Giannoulis heads it in the air, and then it's Neil trying to win it off Sainz. Gets it to Mundle, but it's won back by Gibson on halfway. Plays it back to Hanley, just in the Norwich half. Forward to McLean. Back across to Gibson, and Gibson bringing this forwards a yard or 2, then leaving it again for Kenny McLean. Back to Gibson, drives it right through the centre, looking for Sargent. Now Barnes, round the back though of Fashnacht, and out here on the right for Hume. His pass is cut out by Fashnacht, who plays it back to Giannoulis. He plays it back onto halfway to Ben Gibson. Gibson into the middle, here to McLean again, and McLean taps it to Gabriel. Gabriel, 1 goal this season in the World Cup for Chile, who he has 21 caps for. He scored against Peru, and he's also got 1 goal in the Championship this season, but very much playing as a defensive holding midfielder. Ball comes back now to McLean, and now forwards to Sainz. McLean with Gabriel just in front of him, playing as the sort of 2 defensive midfielders in the absence of Marcelino Nunes. McLean again at the back, between the 2 centre halves, forwards to Gabriel. He gets it away from Ekwa, back to McLean, and then lifted up over the top. A sprint here for Sargent, but Sealt will get in front of him, but Sargent wins it off him down in the corner, and then a foot stabbed out by Sealt for a throw, but the referee's given a free kick against Sargent. Puts his head in his hand, the American. 23 caps, 5 goals for the 24-year-old. Barnes up there with him at the edge of the area. Hume takes the throw. Sealt hooks it high in the air, comes back down, bounces once high, comes off Sargent, keeps it in on the goal line, finds Sainz just behind him, and rolls it back down the touchline to Giannoulis, back to Gibson, into the centre circle to Hanley. It's 0-0, the 12th minute. The rain is absolutely driving down, and it's played back by Stacey to Angus Gunn, who's just come outside his penalty area, and wide on the left to Gibson. Hamir's all over him. It breaks for Mundle, the penalty, and stabbed behind for a corner for Sunderland.
Well done, Hamir. Good pressure from Mundle as well.
What can Sunderland do from a set piece? Surely got to be better than Norwich's.
Got to be better quality. You've got to miss the first man, Nick.
We got swivel seats here. I can swivel round, and I have to look at the corner through the glass of an executive box right next to me. If anybody stands up, it'll just obscure the whole of the corner. Anyway, it's taken short by Styles to Mundle. Played to the back of the penalty area to Ekwa. On his left, curls it in straight into the palms of Angus Gunn. It was comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable save. At least it's a shot on effort. Shot on goal, sorry.
Indeed, the first attempt on goal from either team as Norwich break here over the halfway line. It's McLean, it's through to Stacey down the right side of the penalty area, rolled into the 6-yard box and hooked away by Sealt. Mundle gets his head on it, out to Stacey though on the right wing, keeps it in, slips it inside to Gabriel. He gets it down to Jack Stacey again on the far side, the former Bournemouth right back. He skips the challenger Joe, ball into the box, hooked away by Hume. Gabriel trying to get on the end of it, Jobe trying to get round him. He breaks for Mundle. Mundle now, McLean just taps it away, out for a throw off Mundle, who's down. You don't want to be lying around too much in this rain.
No, not at all.
Driving onto the roofs of the Perspex dugouts down below us. Mike Dodds and David Wagner getting absolutely soaked on the touchline. We're in the 14th minute. Mundle's back up on his feet. Norwich have this throw just inside the Sunderland half. Newcastle 1, Wolves 0. The ball comes back here to Ben Gibson in the middle of the Norwich half. To McLean. Back to Gibson. Drives it on up through the middle. Ashley Barnes on the halfway line in the centre. Splash of water as he plays it to Hanley, out to Stacey. Stacey wide now, pushing on.
You've got to get back to him.
Mundell's trying to get back on him. He's crossed. Ashley Barnes trying to climb all over. Seal drops to Sargent. Takes a deflection. He drove it at goal. Comes up off Dan Neil.
Yeah,
and goes behind for a corner.
But Mundell has got to get back, hasn't he? He's got to be a little bit quicker than that. We sort of strolled back, didn't we?
Yeah,
allowing him to get the ball into the box.
Fortunate that Neil stuck his foot in and it ricocheted up off Sargent. Gabriel comes down to take this corner for Norwich on the left-hand side. The Barclays stand end of the stadium. And Gabriel then hooks it in, across from Ashley Barnes, and Giannoulis, a volley from 20 yards wide of the right post.
Yeah. You've just got to up the urgency, haven't we?
Into the 16th minute, Norwich City 0, Sunderland 0, live on BBC Radio Newcastle.
Now we're still trying to play out.
And they've got 2 in the penalty area, Norwich. Here's Ashley Barnes trying to win it off Sealt, who gets it clear. Styles heads it on, but it drops back to Grant Hanley. And the Norwich captain taps it to Kenny McLean. And McLean looking, trying to size up options, just passes it to Gibson. Gibson closed down by Styles. Batch to McLean, forwards again to Gabriel, little back heel into Sargent, trying to slip it through the middle, but it's cleared. It comes back to Sargent in the middle, out to Giannoulis on the left, and then back onto halfway to McLean. He stands in the centre circle looking for Fashnacht.
It's too easy for him at the present moment, Nick. We've got to press higher up the field with a little bit more urgency.
Searching ball for Giannoulis, bounces through to Patterson.
You've seen what McLean wants to do. He's a midfield player, but he drops back in and makes a 3 up. And allows the 2 fullbacks to push on. But we've tried to play out again.
At the moment, it's McLean in midfield is driving things, isn't it?
Yeah.
The ball rolls out, throw to Norwich on the right.
He's pulling all the strings, McLean. He'll just drop back in and make a 3.
He's busy, he pushes on as well. The ball here with Gibson at the back again for Norwich City.
Listen to that rain.
It's absolutely hammering down. Can you hear it? Onto the head of O'Nien. It splashes off the rain off O'Nien's head and comes through into the centre circle. Out here on the left-hand side to Giannoulis. Giannoulis just inside the Sunderland half. Back to McLean. And he just plays a short pass through. And to a certain extent, it got held up by the water on the pitch. Giannoulis trying to curl it into the penalty area. Drops off. Sealt comes to Barnes. Now Sargent. A ricochet, a deflection. That crashes off Fashnacht into Patterson's right foot. That literally was pinball in there.
Well, again, what we mentioned before, the conditions. Horrible conditions, aren't they?
It's incredible. From an hour ago. Patterson.
We're just causing ourselves problems. That's the third time we've tried to do that.
For a throw, yeah.
Like you meant, go route 1.
Now onside is Barnes on the right of the penalty area, pulls it back to Sargent. Sainz was calling for it, he's just slipped it inside there to Fashnacht. Now Gabriel, Giannoulis looking for it in the penalty area. Hume intercepts, heads it away. Styles on the right, finds Job. Job now back to Hume, out to Neil. And Dan Neil now trying to work out where to go. Looks to try and swing it across the pitch, but Gabriel put a foot to it as he did so. Drops from McLean, finds Stacey into the Sunderland half. Little flick through to Sargent, and he trips Dan Neil. Free kick.
And this little break here, Nick, this is when they're supposed to be speaking to each other, because we need to get hold of the game a little bit. Norwich are in the momentum at the moment. We win the ball and we've got nothing going forward. We come back on ourselves.
19th minute, 0-0. O'Nien with a free kick. It's a good ball out to Hume.
In the box.
He needs someone in the box. Hume crosses, Hamir over the top of him, Mundle throws himself at it. It's behind for a goal kick. Still 0-0 in the 20th minute. Rain easing a bit, but saying that, it's eased to the point where it's actually at normal levels. It's pouring now rather than torrential and lashing. Carlisle 0, Reading 1. Carlisle actually got their first win in the week at Burton in about 15 years, I think it felt like. Birmingham 1, Southampton 1. Hanley now at the back for Norwich. Gets it back from Gabriel. And across to Gibson, closed down by Styles.
Well done. That's
rolls
better.
it back to Hanley after the press from Callum Styles.
Hamir, go to him.
Swansea 2, Blackburn 0. Sorry, Benno.
Hamir, he needs to push on.
Indeed. Denzel. You like that, don't you? As the ball driven on by Gabriel, high down the left, it bounces out for a throw to Sunderland.
Anything you say, Richard.
Aye. Here's Sealt. Rolls it back into Patterson. Now with O'Nien. Barnes on his shoulder, goes with him.
Look, got nothing up front.
And he just ran into yellow shirts in the end.
Look where Hamir is. Look where Hamir is. He's on the halfway line. He's a striker.
Yeah, but Hamir goes at his own pace. It's a free kick to Sunderland, foul on O'Nien, just inside the Sunderland half, wide on the left-hand side. We're a quarter of the way through the game. It's 0-0. And the ball comes back here to Dan Neil, out to O'Nien again, looking for Hjelde. Inside is Mundle. We're deep in the Norwich half. There's a push in the back of Mundle by McLean. It's a free kick to Sunderland, 25 yards out. They've tried to carry on, but the referee has blown to call them back.
Well done, Mundle.
This is an opportunity,
especially on this surface.
And it skips off the top. Fulham 1, Brighton 0. 0-0 here at Carrow Road. I'm looking into the executive box to my right. I mean, they're sitting in shirt sleeves in there. It's like the Bahamas in there. The rain is eased. Ekwa's going to take the free kick, steps back a couple of yards, and everyone's lined up on the 18-yard line. Ekwa curls this over the top. Didn't have a great deal of power.
170 on the chat. Just click that thumbs up button, click the like button, gives us sub a few.
23rd minute, 0-0 still.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Norwich, Gibson taps the ball from the corner of the 6-yard box back to Angus Gunn. He's strolling out with it. Hamir finally decides to close down, but then stops. Up to Sealt in the centre circle, heads it on for Dan Neil. Neil looking for an option, finds Jobe. Now Jobe trying to flick it through to Mundle. Flag is up, offside. Free kick to Norwich City. Quickly taken, out to Sainz, back to Gabriel, wide then to Giannoulis over the halfway line. And he looks up, checks and looks for another option, finds Sargent. Looked like he was fouled from behind by Sealt. Referee says yes. Free kick now to Norwich City. Wide on the left-hand side of central midfield. Halfway inside the Sunderland half. Gabriel Sara is going to take this by the looks of things. Ben Gibson having a word with him. Giannoulis is here on the left. Mundle keeping an eye on him, but Giannoulis jogs back into the centre, so Mundle
I don't think you need a wall.
A two-man wall, I mean, it seems fairly pointless, doesn't it?
What do you need a wall for?
I know, I do wonder sometimes. The referee's come back for a word with the players at the edge of the D. I think it was Ekwa he's speaking to. Comes back into the middle now, and Gabriel sweeps this in towards the far post. It's put behind by
corner.
Well, I think 09 it came off in the end. Ben Gibson was up, but it's a corner to Norwich. Norwich's third corner.
Concentration here.
Yeah, Gabriel Sara's going across to the right to take it again. In the 25th minute.
We've got enough men back there to deal with this set piece.
Well, everybody is back in the penalty area from a Sunderland
they've got 3 players on
perspective. Styles is at the back of the box. Everybody else is pretty much in the 6-yard box. And a little bit of jostling going on. It's curled in here. Sargent trying to get on the end of it. And then it's pushed back by Gibson and tapped over.
Great save.
By Patterson.
Great
got
save.
Fingertips to it from Borgia Sainz.
Well done, Anthony Patterson. Excellent save. Great reaction.
It was a very good save. Tipped over from 18 yards.
Give a free kick.
And a free kick's now been given. Much to the unhappiness of the Norwich supporters.
McLean was fouled, I think, on 9.
So 0-0. Patterson takes the kick, drops eventually to Styles, who manages to get through the legs of Gabriel Sara to Joe, back to Ekwa, and out to Hjelde on the halfway line on the left-hand side, and down the left wing to Mundle, nearly caught by Hanley, but he rolls it back here, or by Stacey, rolls it back eventually to Sealt, wide to Hume. Hume now closed down by Borgia Sainz. He gets it inside to Neil, back to Hume, good ball. Hume's cross, looking for Hamir, headed away by Gibson. Mundle trying to get on the end of it. Ekwa does, he's outside the penalty area, slips it inside to Mundle, back to 09, left to Hjelde, and Hjelde inside to Ekwa.
We've only got 1 person in the box.
That's Hamir, and he's not even in the box, he's in the D. And now Norwich trying to get it out again. Blocked though. It's played by Hjelde to Ekwa. Ekwa back onto the halfway line to Luke O'Nien. Rolls it along halfway to Sealt. Sealt inside to Dan Neal. Rolls it across to the left to Ekwa. Forwards to Job. Job back to Ekwa, just behind him. And Ekwa trying to find Hjelde, and now Mundle wide. He's got to come in on his right foot. Drives it into the box, and it's headed across the penalty area by Hanley, down towards the goal line where Giannoulis keeps it in. He's pushed over by Trey Hume, and it's a free kick to Norwich wide on the left. 0-0, 27th minute here at Carrow Road, live on BBC Radio Newcastle. Angus Gunn, 7 Scotland caps for the Norwich goalkeeper, who was at Norwich as a youngster, moved on to Manchester City and Southampton, had a loan at Stoke, came back here, came home as they'd say in 2021. Ball goes out for a throw to Sunderland on the left. Hjelde takes it in his own half, back to Luke O'Nien, back to Patterson, closed down by Ashley Barnes, kicks up to halfway. Giannoulis gets above Styles, bounces on Kenny McLean on the centre spot, nods it down to Gabriel, back to Hanley, back again to Ben Gibson, and back to the goalkeeper. It's passed out to Ben Gibson. Gibson out to Giannoulis, plays it back to Angus Gunn. He's in pink gloves and pink boots with his light blue goalkeeping kit. Passing it out to Grant Hanley, back again to Gunn, wide on the left to Gibson. Gibson now calling players to him, but passes it to Giannoulis, who sweeps it down the touchline, looking for Borgia Sainz. Offside, was it? No, the referee says the ball went out.
Yeah.
So throw to Sunderland on the right here, halfway inside the Sunderland half. Hume with it, back to Jensen Sealt, taps it back to Patterson. First time ball kicked out over towards Hamir from the head of Job, but knocked away back to Job. He battles for this, under pressure, gets it out to Hume on the right, and he plays it again through Gabriel's legs, and it's coming away with Giannoulis, and it rolls out. It's a throw to Sunderland. Hume takes it a yard from Mike Dodds. Back to Sealt. And now to O'Nien. O'Nien at the edge of the penalty area. Back to Sealt. Sealt to Dan Neil on this right-hand side. Neil
nothing
into Equa in the middle. Barnes and Sargent all around him. And here on the left is Hjelde, and it's just knocked out on that far side by Fasnacht.
You know, Nick, him here, all he needs to do is play on the last man. I don't know why he's dropping back into the middle of the park. You've got Bellingham in there, you've got Dan Neil in there, you've got Equa in there. Stay on the last man, stay in the box. You can.
Sorry, it's all gone back to the Norwich penalty area where it's cleared by Gabriel. Back up to the halfway line, Hjelde to Sealt. Here's Equa. And Equa in the centre circle. Through to Styles.
He may need to play.
Styles, Amir's made a run, but it's come back from Styles out to the left to Hjelde. Amir half waved his hand at it. It's out to Mundle on the left of the penalty area. Plays it back to Hjelde. Hjelde to Mundle again. Mundle trying to cut across the face of Barnes, who gets a foot to it. And then Equa tackles Stacey. Throw to Norwich. Inside their own half. Taken by Jack Stacey. Back to Gabriel Sara, across to Ben Gibson. He's got Giannoulis wide, but he goes to the middle. Sargent takes it on halfway, and he's fouled by Sealt. Head in his hands, Jensen Sealt, but he caught Josh Sargent on the halfway line. Left the centre circle, left inside the centre circle. Free kick to Norwich City. 0-0 in the 31st minute. Gibson taps it to McLean. Gabriel Sara back again to Hanley. Gibson looking for Sargent, little flick through for Barnes, but cleared by O'Nien. Bounces all the way back through to Angus Gunn, leaves it for Hanley. Out to McLean again. McLean across to Gibson. They're still in the Norwich half. And closed down by Styles, just rolls it back to Grant Hanley.
I don't know what Himi is doing. He's playing as a midfield player. Look where Bellingham, he's playing behind Bellingham. He's your out-and-out striker. Look.
He's dropped back onto the halfway line. Job is
surely that's somebody else's job. That's
Job.
Somebody else's job. He's playing a midfield role.
Here's McLean, drives it straight at Hamir. It breaks for Job. Newcastle lead Wolves 2-0.
Get in the box,
Job
then.
on the break. He's got Mundle just in front of him. Mundle takes the ball, plays it back to Job. Job wide on the left, back to Hjelde. Fulham 2, Brighton 0. O'Nien along the halfway line to Sealt. Sealt back to O'Nien in the centre circle on halfway. Forwards to Job just ahead of him. Equa in the centre circle at the front of it, looking for Hume on the right, but it'll be cut out by Giannoulis to Sainz. Sainz will play it back to Gibson, back to Sainz, to Gibson at the edge of the Norwich penalty area. And the Canaries in their yellow and green, happy just to tap it about at the moment. Out to Hanley on the right-hand side, closed down by Job, to Stacey, back to Gabriel Sara, and he's bringing this up towards halfway, lays it off to Gibson. Hamir between the two, it's played between them, and then back to Gabriel, across to Hanley on the right hand side, and wide then to Stacey. Mundle gives chase, Stacey turns and plays it back to Hanley. Hanley across to Gibson here on the left hand side, bringing it up to halfway and then chipping it over the top. Looking for the run of Barnes, it bounces through to Patterson. Patterson at the edge of the Sunderland penalty area, flanked by Sealt and O'Nien. Barnes and Sargent in front of Patterson. It's passed to Sealt. Barnes goes to close him down. Neil flicks it back to Sealt. Sealt down this right wing to Hume. Inside, it's going to be Hamir's, tackled by Gibson. Back it goes to Hanley. Hamir stayed down, staring at the referee for a moment, but then had to jump to his feet. That's Norwich play on here. Gabriel back to McLean, across to Hanley. Job cuts across the pitch to try and get the ball, but it's played on to Stacey, to Spashnak. Back to Stacey, a burst from him down the right. Ekwa's come back to try and cover him. It's come off Stacey for Mundle, who goes just behind the pair.
Well done.
And then Stacey fouls Mundle. 0-0 still, 35th minute. Job's having a word with Thomas Kirk, the referee, about something or other.
Well, there's a foul on him here, that's what he said, because he's come from behind and he's not give it.
Pass back to Patterson. Patterson swings it wide.
You're going to get caught. You're going to get
straight
caught.
To Borja Sainz, but it came off him for Hume. Sainz quickly to his feet. Hume manages to pass it out to Hjelde on the left, up to Job, almost on halfway, down the left wing to Mundle. He's inside the Norwich half. Mundle now has Ekwa inside, and back to Hjelde, just in the Norwich half, back into the Sunderland half to O'Nien, across to Sealt here on the right, wide to Hume. Hume inside to Styles, taps it back onto halfway to Sealt, inside to Dan Neil. Neil across to Luke O'Nien, just in the Sunderland half still, back inside to Dan Neil, wide to Mundle. Mundle inside to Job. Job now to Dan Neil in the middle, looking for Khmir, who tried to tap it back to Neil. Neil gets it to Hume in the penalty area, offside. He tried to pass it into the path of Khmir, who ends up on his bottom. Khmir picks himself up, as does Trey Hume, but promising them.
That was a good move.
Brentford 0, Chelsea 1. The ball at the back, again with Gibson. Through the middle to Sargent, slips. Neil comes away with the ball for Sunderland, and he rolls it to Job. Closed down by Sargent, who sticks with Job, who tries to thread it through for Styles at the edge of the penalty area. But Norwich get the ball away again. Down the left, looking for Ashley Barnes. And he's tackled by Sealt. The ball rolls out. The assistant doesn't want to make the call. Eventually the referee gives it in favour of Sunderland, and the assistant raises his flag likewise.
After all that?
After everything, yeah. So on halfway, on the right, Trey Hume, Sunderland in their red and white stripes, back to Sealt, into Dan Neil, across at the edge of the area to O'Nien, who plays it out to Mundle. Sliding in is Stacey, finds Fashnak down the right wing, and he's got to come in past Luke O'Nien, and he's sticking with Fashnak, O'Nien, and behind him too is Mundle, and the ball's gone out behind for a goal kick.
I don't like how they're playing out from the back, Nick.
Carlisle 0, Reading 2 now. The rain comes again. Well, Sargent and Barnes, they just stand right on the edge of the penalty area. Dan Neil is in front of Sargent. The rain getting heavier again as it's passed out by Patterson to Sealt, who floats one up towards halfway. Giannoulis brings it down inside to McLean, back to Gibson. Gibson inside to Hanley. The back of the centre circle to McLean. Gabriel on the halfway line, wide to Giannoulis, and then he's trying to find Sainz, tackled by Styles. Back to Sealt, out to Hume. Sainz gets a foot on it. Gabriel to Giannoulis, inside to Sainz. Now Barnes laying this off. Sargent running onto it. Stacey goes down in the penalty area. No penalty, goal kick. And Stacey's furious. He felt Mundle had fouled him, but the referee was on the spot.
I think he thought that it should have been a corner.
Leicester 0, QPR 1. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's pointing towards the corner, isn't he, Stacey? But he's not been given it. It's the goal kick from Patterson, headed on by Giannoulis, and this will be Sealt to deal with this in front of Ashley Barnes. Hume trying to flick it on to Styles, nice touch through to Khmir, gets it down to Styles again, and he plays it across to Hjelde. Hjelde up to the halfway line, wide on the left with Mundle. Mundle now taking this on, Hjelde just holds back, Mundle cuts across the pitch. Mundle still going. Right foot shot. Fizzes across the face of Gunn and behind for a goal kick.
Unlucky. At least he's being positive, Nick.
It's had a go.
Mundle.
It's had a go. That's all you can ask for. And it's still 0-0 in the 40th minute of the first half here at Carrow Road, live on BBC Radio Newcastle. Now, Gunn passes it out to Gibson, back to Gunn. Gibson was on the shoulder of Amir. Angus Gunn to the edge of the penalty area, pushes it out into the outfield, then through the middle, looking for Ashley Barnes. Finds Fashnak, cut out by Hjelde to Mundle. Fashnak comes back to get in front of Mundle, but it's played out to Hjelde on the left wing. Halfway inside the Norwich half, back inside to Mundle, back to Hjelde wide, and back onto halfway to Ekwa. Plays it back to O'Nien, and now to Sealt. Sealt to Hume just ahead of him. It's Styles out wide now on the touchline. He taps it back to Hume. Hume back on to halfway in the centre circle. Luke O'Nien forwards to Ekwa. Neil just at the front of the centre circle. He dribbles on and then plays it out to Mundle wide on the left. Mundle plays it back to Ekwa. Ekwa finds Job, who plays it back to Sealt, back into O'Nien in the centre circle. Comes away on the right, twists away in front of Barnes, back into the centre and playing it left to Ekwa. And Ekwa now on halfway on the left-hand side, back to Sealt. Stoke 1, Middlesbrough 0. Great ball down to Hume, but it came off him for Giannoulis. And Giannoulis now on the left plays it to Gabriel at the corner of the Norwich penalty area. Down the line, into the path of Sainz. Sainz away here on the left-hand side, taking it more into the middle, flicks it into the centre to Barnes. Barnes rolling it through, edge of the area, into Sargent. Sargent puts it wide.
Offside, offside.
Offside anyway, but they were completely opened up then, Sunderland.
It was a well-worked, tell you what, combination there by Norwich. Good passing, good movement off the ball. But Sargent ran into an offside position there.
And curled it wide anyway. 3 minutes or so till half-time. 0-0 at Carrow Road.
But again, Nick, you know, you look at the difference between the two teams. When they go forward with a little bit of pace, they're positive, they look forward, they want to get the ball forward. When we win the ball, we've got to be patient. We come back on ourselves.
Patterson kicks wide left, looking for Hjelde, gets his head under it, hangs in the air. Hanley nods it down to McLean, who gets it down with his head onto his left foot, hooks it in the air, drops for Hume, comes off Sainz for Giannoulis. Sainz gets it back. Hume tried to win it back, but it's with Sargent. Sargent back to Gabriel on the centre spot, almost behind him is Hanley. To the left is Gibson, and Gibson on halfway out to the left again, Giannoulis. And Giannoulis down the line to McLean. McLean is looking for an offside. Ashley Barnes, flag comes up. Free kick to Sunderland.
Good line.
But you don't want to keep catching them offside, because at one point they're going to get it right.
Exactly.
Patterson passes it from the 18-yard line out to Dan Neil. Neil.
Where's Hemir?
Hemir is...
He's a centre forward,
he's having a little stroll down the right side of midfield. It's out to Mundle. One back by Stacey. Back to Hanley. Hanley into Gunn. He kicks up to the halfway line. Flicked on by the chest of Sargent to Barnes. Barnes across to Borja Sainz here. He flicks it on, caught by Hume. Free kick and a yellow card for Trey Hume, which takes him to 9 yellow cards now, Hume, with a couple of games before the amnesty. Birmingham 2, Southampton 1. So 44th minute of the first half. Hume on 9 yellow cards, Barrs on 8, and Luke O'Nien's on 9. I think the cut-off's 37 matches. This is match 35. So, free kick which Sainz or Gabriel will take in the rain. It's the Brazilian who floats it up into the penalty area and through for a goal kick. O'Nine's having a conversation with Kjelder and Dan Neal as Patterson comes out with the ball. There's no hurry. A minute left of the 45. And he is going to kick long this time. Everybody heading upfield. Patterson with the ball in the centre of his 6-yard line. And the players drifting towards the tunnel, sensing the warmth of the dressing room, no doubt. The ball floats up over halfway, crashes down between Gibson, Jobe, Hamir, back to Giannoulis and back again to Angus Gunn, who's at the edge of his penalty area, and plays it out to Ben Gibson on the left-hand side. Gibson, Jobe goes to close him down, plays it back to Gunn. Gunn pushes it out through the middle to Gabriel. Gabriel then, he has Jobe in front of him, plays it to his left to Ben Gibson. Gibson waiting for the fourth official to come out in a second to show us how much time we added on at the end of this first half. It's put out by Sargent. Throw to Sunderland on the right wing. Daniel Middleton's the fourth official. He's strolled to the touchline, and we will have 1 minute. And we're into that 1 minute now. Hume to Neal, and it's hooked high in the air, and a foul by Hamir on the left in the Norwich half. Played into the middle to Kenny McLean. McLean through the centre circle, drives it through here to Sainz behind Barnes to Sargent, who lays it off to Gabriel, who drives it high over the bar. Rolled to him quite nicely. He just slightly raised his head and drove it.
And that was a fine example of what Norwich is about. You know, the centre-back's on the ball and it's a whiz pass straight into feet, and the ball goes forward. We don't come back on ourselves.
Yeah, they are good at the counter-attack. Patterson then again from the centre of his 6-yard line. The referee looks at his watch. I think it'll be half-time now. There goes the half-time whistle. 0-0 at the interval. Sunderland have weathered it in every sense of the word. It's raining again, it's grey, and it's...
Well, has anybody got any highlights from that then?
Slightly ominous on the pitch as well from a Norwich perspective in terms of the threat they offer up front.
Yeah,
I can't wait to get onto the socials.
Again, you know, from a coach's point of view, you know, they should just say to him here, just stay up front. You don't need to drop back. Just play on this centre-back's shoulder. You know, because he's dropping in. He looks lost in the middle of the park. We've got no outlet.
What should he be doing? What's he
no
not
outlet?
Doing he should be doing?
What he should be doing is, look, just stay on the last centre-back's shoulder. Okay, when we win it, can he make runs down the channel? You know, can we be an outlet? At the present moment, he's just...
Don't think we could complain strikers not getting any services, Peter.
Just you know,
play out
not
from
doing
the back
anything.
And
when we do win the ball, we haven't got anybody in the box. We haven't got nobody who's making runs.
In a word, no.
Hear that rain again. Do you think there's an element of him trying too hard? Do you know what I mean?
I don't think he's trying.
Right, okay.
That's, you know, you've seen him. We're looking at him, and you can tell by his body language. You know, the way he goes down to close down, the way he runs. There's no sort of urgency. There's no like a turn of pace where, okay, I want the ball, I'm going to run into the channel. It's just a case he's jogging.
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean about that. He gives that impression that he's not that bothered.
He's not that bothered. That's how he comes across.
The irony would be he'll probably score in the second half.
You look at him, and sometimes it's just a gesture. You know, he's in middle of the park, and maybe he's in there. He's thinking, okay, I'm a number in there. It looks as though I'm busy. It looks as though I'm doing a job, but he's not. You know, he's a striker. He's an out-and-out striker, and that's where he should be.
It's been pointless looking at Hamir in terms of height because the ball's not being played up. Would you put Rusin on in the second half?
Well, at least you know what you're going to get from Rusin. At least you know that he's going to run the channels. You know, you look at Hamir, and if you had his physique, his size, you think yourself, let him know that they're in a game.
You should impose yourself, shouldn't you?
And he should do.
I mean, the conditions aren't really suited for Hamir, are they?
Oh, we'll use the conditions. Huh?
I mean,
it's not his type of conditions. He needs a bit of sun.
It's absolutely hammering it down again here at Carrow Road. Look, it's 0-0. I mean, Sunderland are doing a job in one sense.
They're doing a job, but then on the other hand, where are we going to score goals from? Do we look a threat? There's a couple of times we strung a couple of passes together. Looks nice, but you're just thinking, really?
I mean, look, in mitigation, Patterson's had one save, the one he tipped over the bar. He's not had a great deal to do besides.
He hasn't, but if you look at Norwich, they've had, maybe 4, 5 efforts which maybe have gone off target, have taken a deflection, gone for a corner. They've had shots in and they've gone over the crossbar. They're going to get one right.
Yes, so the second half to come, of course, on BBC Radio Newcastle. Carrow Road in the pouring rain at half-time.
Ian,
we'll have the second half on BBC Radio Newcastle on SAFC.com at the break. It is Norwich City 0, Sunderland 0.
What was your thoughts of the first half?
10 pairs of nail clippers. Do you use one on each finger?
On BBC iPlayer.
I can't believe that our house held all these things.
Stacey Solomon and the team are back.
All right, come on, Ewan, let's do this.
Transforming your home.
I'll get a right making something 10 times cheaper than it costs to buy it.
And improve.
Just muting the half-time stuff from thingy because there's music playing. Oh, we're back on now.
Half-time then at St James's Park. It's Newcastle United 2,
yes.
Wolves 0. Alexander Isak and Anthony Gordon with the goals.
Yes, I've got the half-time
socials. It is
Are
Norwich City 0, Sunderland 0. We will be back with our respective commentary teams for the second half in round about 10 minutes time. Elsewhere in the 3 o'clock games, we'll start in the Premier League. There are 6 3 o'clock games today. What on earth's going on? Chelsea are leading 1-0 at Brentford at half-time. Nicholas Jackson.
We play a big, powerful centre forward, and we don't
no
play
goals
his
between Everton and West Ham. But Fulham are 2-0 up on Brighton. Harry Wilson and Rodrigo Muniz. It's a Fulham 2, Brighton 0. No goals between the leaders Liverpool and they're away at Nottingham Forest, nor any goals between Spurs and Crystal Palace. The 5:30 kickoff in the Premier League is Luton against Aston Villa.
Total Sport North East.
On the station with Newcastle and Sunderland commentary exclusively live.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
There were 2 early games in the Championship. Cardiff City won 1-0 away at Bristol City thanks to Kerry and G, and Huddersfield drew 1-1 at home to Leeds United. They were 1-0 up on the stroke of half-time. Then in between that goal and the half-time whistle, Huddersfield, having scored, also had a man sent off. Played the entire second half of 10 men, did concede 1 through Patrick Bamford, but it finished Huddersfield 1, Leeds United 1. In the 3 o'clock kickoff then, Birmingham are 2-1 up on Southampton. Koji Miyoshi after just 2 minutes for Birmingham. Adam Armstrong from a Newcastle striker equalised for Southampton, but Jay Stansfield has put Birmingham ahead 4 minutes before the break. Queen's Park Rangers are winning 1-0 at the league leaders Leicester City. Ilias Sher 7 minutes before half-time. Millwall are 1-0 up on Watford. Zian Fleming after just 3 minutes. No goals in the next 3 games. So Plymouth against Ipswich, Preston against Hull and Rotherham against Sheffield Wednesday, all goalless. Middlesbrough though are 1-0 down at Stoke City. Bae Jun Ho, the Korean, after 40 minutes of that game. And Swansea are a couple of goals up on Blackburn Rovers. They were 2-0 up after 20 minutes in that one actually. Joe Allen and Jamie Patterson.
Total Sport North East.
The Newcastle and Sunderland AFC podcast.
On BBC Sounds.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Into League One, Bolton lead Cambridge United by a goal to nil. George Thomason 10 minutes before half-time. Carlisle though are 2-0 down at home to Reading. Sam Smith and Harvey Nibbs with the away side's goals. Cheltenham 0, Burton Albion 0. Derby County 2-0 up on Port Vale. Louis Sibley after 5 minutes. And Dwight Gale, remember him, getting a goal a minute before half-time for Derby. So Derby 2-0 up on Port Vale. It's Fleetwood Town 2, Wigan Athletic 2. Bosun Lawal has scored both for Fleetwood, who were 1-0 up and then 2-1 down. Stephen Humphreys and Theo Asgard with Wigan's goals. Bristol Rover lead 1-0 at Leyton Orient. Chris Martin on the half-hour mark. Lincoln City 0, Stevenage 0. At Charlton are 1-0 up at Northampton. Caroy Anderson after just 4 minutes in that game. Peterborough 1, Exeter City 1. Ephraim Mason Clark scored after just 4 minutes for Peterborough, but Tom Carroll got Exeter's equaliser. Portsmouth are drawing 1-1 with Oxford United. Both goals inside the opening 6 minutes. Callum Lang for Portsmouth after 2, and then a Cameron Brannigan penalty for Oxford after 6. Blackpool are 1-0 up at Shrewsbury. Karamoko Dembele a couple of minutes before half-time. And Dale Taylor's given Wickham a 1-0 lead over Barnsley.
Total Sport North East.
Get the latest team news, score updates and post-match reaction on Twitter at BBC Newcastle.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
In the first game, the lunchtime game in League 2, the new club beat the old club, if you can call them that. AFC Wimbledon 1-0 winners over MK Dons. Ronan Curtis in injury time. It's not necessarily a derby in terms of geography anymore, but my goodness, there is animosity still between those two clubs. 3 games called off in League 2 today because of the weather. Bradford City against Notts County called off less than an hour before kick-off, but there was a bit more notice for Colchester against Stockport and Crawley against Barrow. In the 3 o'clock games that went ahead then, Crewe Alexandra 1-0 up on Morecambe thanks to Elliot Nevitt. Grimsby 1-0 up on Forest Green Rovers thanks to Harvey Rogers. No goals between Newport County and Mansfield, but Gillingham scored late in the first half to lead 1-0 at Salford City. It's Swindon Town 0, Harrogate Town 0, Tranmere Rovers 0, Sutton United 0. Walsall lead Doncaster by 1-0 thanks to Josh Gordon, and Wrexham are 4-0 up on Accrington Stanley. An 18-minute hat-trick for Paul Mullen was then added to by Elliot Lee. Wrexham 4, Accrington Stanley 0.
Total Sport North East.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Into non-league then, our biggest sides all away from home today. Morpeth's game at Radcliffe in the NPL Premier Division was postponed at 2:45, 15 minutes before kick-off. They had all gone to Greater Manchester and they're all going to have to come back again without having played a game. In the National League though, Gateshead are drawing 0-0 at Boreham Wood at the break. In National League North, it's not going well for either Blythe Spartans or South Shields. Shields are 2-0 down at Kings Lynn and Blythe Spartans are 3-1 down at Tamworth. They were 3-0 down after 19 minutes, Blythe. Jordan Cook has got one back for them. In the NPL East Division, Consett and Ashington had their home games postponed, but Hebburn and Dunstan are both winning away at the break. Hebburn are 1-0 up at Stocksbridge Park Steels thanks to Amar Purawal, and Dunstan lead at North Ferriby thanks to Jack Maskell. It all means that we've gone down to Northern League Division 2 for our featured non-league game of the day. Paul Dixon is watching Newcastle Blue Star against Thornaby. And Paul, I don't want to steal your thunder, but Newcastle Blue Star tweeted about 5 minutes ago to just say, half-time, no score, weather terrible. Is that a fair assessment of the first 45 minutes?
That's absolutely spot on, Colin. Yes, it's nils each, a heavy pitch. The rain hasn't stopped for 45 minutes. People are drenched here, but they're very, very keen to come and watch their team. And Blue Star probably been the best team in the first half. 15 minutes in, Connor Oliver shot just going over the bar. And then on the half hour, Callum Lama shot terrific effort, just missed the goal. And Lama again caused goalkeeper Ronan Makepeace to make a brilliant save. But then right on half time, Thornaby with a first chance. Charlie Heinsohn, a volley from the edge of the box, and the ball cannoned off the post. Great effort, very, very unlucky. But I can't stress how bad the conditions are. It's absolutely lashed down for 45 minutes. Luckily, I'm under a bit of cover, but there is people out there rather wet. Nils each at half time, Colin.
Paul, thank you very much indeed. Hope you don't get wet at all in the second half. Apologies to Gateshead fans, I missed a goal. I forgot that Boreham Wood had taken the lead. So Gateshead are 1-0 down at Boreham Wood in the National League at half time. Kabongo Shimanga halfway through the first half. We'll do our local football roundup as usual at 5:45.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
There's a brand new version of Local Hero that's been made with many of the best guitarists in the world. Producer Guy Fletcher is the man who's put it together with Mark Knopfler.
There are 67 different musicians on the track. I think once word got out, in amongst the guitar fraternity, then people wanted to be involved.
When Slash got on board, did he call Eric Clapton and say, "Hey, Eric, I've got a really good project," and he thought, "I'll tell Brian May," and that's how it just happened?
It pretty much worked like that, yeah. Completely.
Matt Bailey at breakfast.
Timed it perfectly.
Monday morning
from 6.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
Newcastle 2, Wolves 0 at half-time, Norwich 0, Sunderland 0. Back with our commentators in just a moment, but we're going to touch on cricket because Durham are on a pre-season tour of Zimbabwe. Yesterday they won their second 3-day game against Zimbabwe A by 126 runs. Tomorrow morning they face Mountaineers in a T20. Durham's head coach Ryan Campbell's been speaking to the BBC's Tim Deller.
The facts are that in England you don't get a chance to prepare for your T20. We play a 4-day fixture and 2 days later we're into it. So this is a great opportunity for us to play teams, and you know, anyone can say whatever they want about Zimbabwe in the longer form of the game. White ball cricket's in their DNA, and I know that from my Dutch days. You know, everyone here plays it, loves it, are good at it. So what I know, we're going to be up against some really good teams, and we're going to be put under pressure. And for us to try some different things of what we want to do in the T20 in the Blast, it's just priceless. And you know, we've also given a couple of our players, Ben McKinney and Johnny Bushnell, will play for the Tuskers, to give them an opportunity to play white ball as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
So you're getting loads of people out on the pitch as often as possible in the next week, and you've got quite a lot of games, and I suppose it's important you have lots of matches for the guys, because otherwise it's quite 3 weeks is quite a long time to be away without loads of cricket.
Yeah, 100%. You know, when you're just training all the time indoors, you want to see if the hard work's gone in.
Bring him in that's
why I was so pleased for someone like Ollie Gibson, who's done a stack of work back home, and then to get the rewards and say, gee, I am on the right path
and that
here.
Means
so
British
that will be the same
Telecom.
in the T20s. We're playing a lot of players, but because we're getting a lot of good games in, we can actually stick to a plan for a little while, and we don't have to give everyone a chance, so to speak, because then it suddenly becomes a bit of a scattergun approach at it all. But you know, we're going to stick to
what would you be seeing the team right now? Well, first of all, I'll be saying,
like I say, I'm intrigued to see how it goes, because I think it's going to be awesome viewing.
Well, best of luck to Durham tomorrow. That's Ryan Campbell there speaking to the BBC's Tim Deller. But it's football we focus on. If you want to be listening to Newcastle United against Wolves, a 2-0 up at the break. Matthew Ravebeck and John Anderson are on our FM frequencies. Sunderland are drawing 0-0 at Norwich at half-time. Nick Barnes and Gary Bennett are on DAB and Freeview Channel 719.
Total Sport North East.
Nick Barnes and Gary Bennett, MBE.
BBC Radio Newcastle.
This all the time.
Welcome back to Carrow Road. It's been relentless, the rain, right through half-time. In fact, at the beginning of half-time, it was again torrential. I'm watching the ground staff, and they are forking.
Nick Barnes and the crew.
They're forking away to save their lives. I feel for the substitutes. They're all still having to stay out there and warm up.
Indeed. The conditions isn't the best.
It's, the teams in their short sleeves, their hardy individuals come sprinting out. The Norwich players from the tunnel down below us, just down to our right. Norwich will be defending this goal to our left in the second half in their canary yellow, green, canary yellow shorts. Sunderland away to our right. In their red and white stripes, black shorts and red socks. Samir jogs out, full of intent for the second half.
That's not a jog, that's a sprint.
That's as he pulls his long sleeves under vest down over his hands and stands looking rather bedraggled on the centre spot, because it'll be Sunderland who will get the second half underway, and the rain again becomes heavy. It looks a bit brighter away to the right of us, to the north, but it's been fairly wretched from kickoff.
It has been a downpour, hasn't it? Really.
Referee Thomas Kirk just counting the numbers, checks his watch,
and
he's all in black. He too's in short sleeves, and it's not warm by any stretch of the imagination as Thomas Kirk gets this second half underway. The ball played back to Sealt, back to Anthony Patterson, who's in light blue, drives the ball up through the middle. Hanley gets above Job and trying to get it to Josh Sargent as water splashes up. There is a lot of water sitting on the pitch.
Yeah.
And the ball with Fashnat inside to Kenny McLean, picked up by Gabriel, out to Fashnat again, cut out by Luke O'Nien, sliding into Dan Neil in the centre, gets it back to O'Nien, forwards to Job, and Job now being forced back, plays out wide right to Trey Hume. Hume dashing up to the halfway line. The ball is not rolling particularly fast in the conditions. Hamir
make a run.
As Neil still has it, plays it out to the left here to Hjelde, and Hjelde, as the rain eases slightly, back to the halfway line to Luke O'Nien. Forwards down the right, Ekwa, Styles back to Ekwa, up to Job. The Sunderland line-up as Neil goes down spectacularly, but Styles goes down spectacularly, but the referee says no foul. A chase for Hjelde and Fashnacht down here on the Norwich right wing. They win a throw, Norwich. Patterson in goal, Hume, Sealt, O'Nien and Hjelde. Neil, Ekwa, Styles, Job, Mundle and Hamir is the Sunderland 11. The Norwich 11 is Gunn in goal. Stacey, Hanley, Gibson and Giannoulis. Fashnacht, Gabriel, McLean, the cross played in and behind at the near post for a goal kick.
Yeah.
Gabriel, Sainz, Barnes and Sargent.
Tell you what, if we get a couple more downpours, Nick, you can see this game being called off.
It's not, and I'm not sure what the forecast through the afternoon was 50% rain. It's been pretty much 100% rain, to be honest. And it's a goal kick to Sunderland. The water is in pools down in front of the dugouts on the touchline. As the ball floats up to Job, comes off him, does it? The assistant again is unsure, but he finally flags for a Norwich throw on the right-hand side, which Stacey plays back down the line to Grant Hanley. And Hanley to McLean, back again to Angus Gunn, plays out to Ben Gibson on the far side, inside to McLean, and he's in the middle of the Norwich half. The Sunderland bench is Bishop, Pembele, Burstow, Rusin, Barr, Aushish, Rigg, Kelly and Lavery. Out wide, Gibson looking for Borja Sainz, plays it down the left to Giannoulis, into the penalty area. It comes off the chest of Fashnacht. He couldn't really get his body positioned to try and control it, and Sunderland get the ball away. Dan Neil picks it up in midfield, slips it to Ekwa, back to Luke O'Nien at the edge of the Sunderland penalty area, and a splash as he plays it out to the halfway line almost. Stacey gets it down the right to Fashnacht, back inside to Gabriel Sara, dribbling at the penalty area, comes down the right of the box now and flicked in, and O'Nien has to clear it, and it comes back out here on the right to Kenny McLean. Lots of Norwich fans still returning to their seats for the second half and walking across my field of vision, but Stacey away down the right hand side, clips the ball in and off the bar, comes back down on the left to Giannoulis, who pulls it back, hooks off the foot of Styles. Ashley Barnes trying to get on the end of it, Patterson somehow clears it, and out here, and a foul by Job on Hanley.
Tell you what, he misjudged that one, didn't he, Patterson?
Yeah.
Ball's coming in, he thinks it was going over, it's come crashing back off the crossbar. Got to defend this free kick.
This wide on the left, halfway inside the Sunderland half. The rain eases, the sky looks clearer above the River Wensum end of the ground. We're in the 50th minute. The Brazilian Gabriel Sara is over the ball to take the free kick. Sunderland holding a line on the 18-yard line as Thomas Kirk strides across the middle. The referee has a careful eye on what's happening at the edge of the box. Gabriel puts it in, flicks down from Job, he missed it completely. Out it comes to McLean, blocked by Styles, and it ricochets back up into the centre circle and played back by Giannoulis to Angus Gunn. And Gunn now driving it back up into the Sunderland half, and the flag comes up. Yep. But as ever, we have to wait for contact. It's like mission control, isn't it? Have we got contact? Finally the flag up, free kick to Sunderland. Ekwa back to Sealt. Dan Ballard, of course, available again on Tuesday night when Sunderland are at home to Leicester City. Ball breaks for Neil, looking for Mundle. Hanley's all over him, and Mundle trying to get it again, and he's won a free kick. Hanley forcing him down. Brentford 1, Chelsea 1. Quickly taken free kick. Styles in the centre circle. has the battle because Sainz won it back, but then Neil wins it.
Look, it needs a run.
Well, Fashion
got no outlet.
Here on the right, Stacey Mundell trying to get it, but Stacey turns and plays it back to goalkeeper Angus Gunn. 0-0, 51st minute, live on BBC Radio Newcastle. And here on the right, Hanley, who was at Newcastle United for a season, 2016-2017. This is only his 8th appearance of the season because of injury, but he's the club captain and he was straight back in the team. Chris Rigg is having a chat with Mike Proctor. I think Rigg could be coming on in a minute. I'm not sure. Hamir. Here's Ashley Barnes trying to thread it through for Fashnacht. Cleared Ekwa now to Mundell. Mundell slips it past Hanley, who just blocked him, but Job's run onto it on the left here. Job out to the left touchline, battling with McLean, has to come back here and play it back to Luke O'Nien behind the centre circle. And Michael Proctor still pointing and explaining what he wants of Chris Rigg, as the ball picked up here by Borja Sainz, and the Spaniard plays it back to Grant Hanley. Hanley squares it to his left to Ben Gibson, and Gibson holds it in the middle of the Norwich half, plays it to Hanley. Hanley taking it, playing it back to Kenny McLean in the middle of the Sunderland, the Norwich half, just behind the centre circle, and McLean then just rolling it to Ben Gibson on halfway, flicks it into the Sunderland half, floats it up towards Ashley Barnes, comes off Helder, comes off O'Nien, back to Patterson. A bit of head tennis going on at the edge of the Sunderland penalty area. So Patterson drops it to his feet, flanked on either side of his penalty area by the centre-backs. He plays it out to the right to Sealt. He floats it up towards the halfway line, and off Styles drops for McLean. Ekwan to close him down, flicked up off Fashnacht. On his back is Dan Neil, but Fashnacht gets it to Stacey. Stacey now at the edge of the penalty area, Mundell in front of him, blocks it, and Joe trying to clear it, can't. Gabriel's got it back down in the penalty area. On his left, good save by Patterson, behind for the corner.
Good save, but again we struggle to clear the ball, Nick.
Yeah. Patterson going down to his left to make the save, this corner from the right. 0-0 in the 54th minute. Gabriel Sara at the corner on the right to take it. And again, a lot of people in the 6-yard box, and the referee's paused the play because he wants a word. There's been a bit of pushing and shoving going on in there, and he strides in to have a word with Ekwa, McLean and Hanley, who are on the left corner of the 6-yard box. He's satisfied with that word, and here is the Brazilian with the corner kick towards the far post, looking for Gibson, who heads it back in, and Ekwa heads it back out. And down the left it's Sainz, down into the corner, slipped it inside, but Job will clear this. Hacks it away, really. Comes out to Giannoulis just in front of the centre circle. He lays it off to Kenny McLean, wide on the left-hand side, then to Sainz, who sprints across the middle, whips a ball to the edge of the area. Dan Neil heads it out. Hamir knocks it back to Ekwa, and it's just driven out into touch. And the attendance this afternoon, 26,668, of which 1,673 are Sunderland fans. Magnificent effort this afternoon from the Sunderland fans to make the journey down, bearing in mind they've got Southampton away next week as well.
Yeah, it's not an easy journey either, Nick, is it?
No, it's not. So plaudits to them. And in a few weeks' time they've got Cardiff away as well. So,
lovely.
Yeah, not cheap. McLean down the left wing, played back to him by Giannoulis inside the Sunderland half, and McLean, Styles on his shoulder, plays it to Hanley. Hanley now rolls it out wide to Stacey, closed down by Mundell. Jack Stacey back to Grant Hanley, back again to Gibson. McLean.
We're so deep, it's unbelievable, Nick.
Well, everything's in the Sunderland half.
We're so look where we are.
Everyone's behind the ball.
It's like attack against defence.
It is at the moment. Norwich just trying to prod and poke and find a way through. Here's Gabriel Sara, plays it back to Hanley. Hanley in the middle of the Sunderland half. In front of him is Hamir. He plays it to McLean on the left-hand side, then out wide to Giannoulis, who crosses, looking for Ashley Barnes, headed away though by Hjelde, and Mundle will try and take this out, but it's won back by Stacey, and Stacey dribbling down the right side of the penalty area, wrestles with Mundle, gets the ball to Fashnacht, who gets it to Barnes in the penalty area. Stacey, Mundle manages to block it, get his left foot through it, but it hangs in the air, and Hanley just nods it down the right of the penalty area, and Mundle will let that run behind for a goal kick. Brentford 1, Chelsea 1, just a reminder of that score.
Nick, you have to make changes, because you just think if anyone's going to score, it's going to be Norwich. You know, all we're doing is getting 10 men back behind the ball.
Well, Michael Proctor's got a card in his hand. I don't know if that's a substitution card for the fourth official, but I wonder if a change is imminent. We're in the 57th minute. It's 0-0, and unbelievably, the sun's out. An afternoon of contrasts. It's bright sunshine now, having had an hour of torrential rain pretty much. Here's Mundle trying to get forwards, and the ball out wide and out for a throw to Sunderland, which Hjelde will take back to Dan Neil. Neil slips it inside to Job. Job here to Sealt inside the Norwich half. Wide is Hume. Sealt has Sargent in front of him, plays it back into the centre circle to Luke O'Nien, and now to Neil again. Neil trying to push forwards. Hjelde is wide. Neil taking it on though, flicking it into Mundle, back to Neil, who tried to cross it and put behind by Hanley for a corner.
Well done, Dan Neil.
Sunderland's second corner of the game, their first of the second half. We're in the 58th minute. Styles down to the left to take it. Mundle's gone down to the left with him. And here's Styles with his left foot onto the head of a defender to flick it out, and Sargent's making a break. Ekwa pulls him down. Ekwa will get a yellow card.
It's took one for the team now,
did. Because Sargent was away, though whether he'd have had the legs on these conditions with the pitch being so heavy now to have made it all the way, I think it's probably questionable. But nonetheless, Ekwa taking no chances. Gabriel Sara drives it through, looking for Barnes, cut out by the foot of Sealt. Nodded on by Hjelde to Mundle, chasing him is Fashnacht, but Mundle gets away from him. Joe wants it played in front of him down the left, and eventually he's fouled by Ben Gibson. And it's a free kick here on the left, halfway between the penalty area and the touchline for Sunderland.
Well done, Mundle.
Picks himself up.
Well done, Job, as well. You know, at least we've got people who are making the runs, trying to. But again, you need more from him.
Styles and Ekwa here on the left to take the free kick, one of them. Job wanders back into the penalty area, almost on the 18-yard line. Norwich holding a line 12 yards out.
Get your head on this one, Hamir.
2 in the Norwich wall, to the right of where Thomas Kirk applied the spray. Sun in the goalkeeper's eyes, unbelievably. Styles swings this in. O'Nien trying to get his head on the end of it. In the end, it appeared to come off the arm of Hamir. Comes out into midfield, play carries on. Borges Sainz trying to go past Mundle, and
well done,
Mundle
Mundle.
sticking with him, and eventually it's played down the right wing to Fashnacht. Fashnacht has Hume here on the left-hand side, Sainz in support, and the Swiss plays it to the Spaniard down in the corner, and the cross blocked by Hjelde for a throw to Norwich.
And you can, the difference there, Nick, they had people who were willing to run.
They're going to bring on a substitute, Pierre Van Hooydonk's son, Sidney Van Hooydonk, who's on loan from Bologna, and he's coming on for Barnes. Carlisle 0, Reading 3. And Leicester 0, Queen's Park Rangers 2, remarkably. I don't think anybody would have seen that scoreline coming this afternoon. Spurs 0, Crystal Palace 1. In the 61st minute here, and Van Hooydonk's on, and it's a throw to Norwich City on the right-hand side. Leicester City, of course, Sunderland's opponents on Tuesday night at the Stadium of Light. Stacey will take the throw. This big shove in the back of Mundle by Van Hooijdonk. Play goes on. That's remarkable. I don't know how the referee didn't. All the assistant didn't get anything then, but they didn't. And it's back on halfway. On the left with Giannoulis. He's flicked it on to Sainz. He's cutting back inside again. But tackled by Hamir, who rolls it inside to Ekwa. Now to Styles on his right. And Styles looking for Hamir, but he's going to be beaten to it by Ben Gibson, who plays it back into the sun-drenched Norwich City penalty area. Can't see the big screen on the far side now for the Sun. Here Hanley on the right. Hanley taps it back inside to McLean at the edge of the penalty area, brings it out through the middle for Norwich, and then plays it across to Hanley on this right-hand side. We're in the 62nd minute. It's still Norwich City 0, Sunderland 0, live on BBC Radio Newcastle. McLean. Now it's Leicester 1, Queen's Park Rangers 2. There's a ball headed down by Hume, but straight to Giannoulis, who plays it back to Sainz and back onto the halfway line to Ben Gibson. Gibson just rolling it to Gabriel Sara, who drives it up looking for Svashnak in the penalty area. O'Nien wasn't quite sure where the ball went. It's gone to Sainz on the left of the penalty area. He pulls it back now to Gabriel Sara down the left of Giannoulis. He plays it back to the Brazilian. He will now try and cross, which he does. Up goes Patterson and catches it.
Well done.
Stood his ground, caught it confidently. And it's Birmingham 2, Southampton 2, and I'm told that Keir Starmer's at the game this afternoon. And here's Hamir down the left-hand side. Slips it inside to Dan Neil. Trying to roll it through to Styles. Cut out, though, by Norwich at the edge of the penalty area. And now played back to the goalkeeper. And the goalkeeper plays it out to Hanley on the right-hand side. Job trying to cut things out, trying to intercept, but it's played straight to Hjelde by Norwich. Hjelde trying to get it forwards to Job, and then picked up by Gabriel Sara, and he's looking for the run of Van Hooijdonk, but headed away, intercepted by Luke O'Nien, and finds Ekwa. Look. Ekwa now,
you've got to get in the box.
Mundle on the left-hand side. Mundle, back behind him is Ekwa. Ekwa back to Hjelde. He just plays it across at the right side of the centre circle to Seelt, wide to Hume. Hume back to Seelt, and Seelt closed down by Sidney Van Hooijdonk, and then Dan Neil plays it back to Seelt, who plays it across here to Luke O'Nien in the centre circle. Yeah, Bar. Who do you think he will come on for? Will it be Mundle again, just because of fitness?
No, he's got to come on for Bar. I mean for Amir.
Right. The battle in front of Mike Dodds on the touchline. Stacey wins it. Ekwa then intercepts, gets the ball, and tries to flick it through now to Styles, who turns Hanley. He's all over him.
Good turn.
And a free kick in the middle for Sunderland. So this probably 30 yards out.
It's worth an effort, Nick.
Yeah, Ekwa will fancy his chances, won't he? I think Rusin's coming on as well. So at least 2 changes going to be made by Sunderland. So I think Hamir will be coming off. Everton 1, West Ham United 1. Rusin and Bar ready to come on. And this free kick will, I think, be taken before they do. Ekwa standing over the ball at the moment. Norwich holding a line 18 yards out.
Hit the target. Got to work the goalkeeper.
Well, interestingly enough, I mentioned the sun being in the eyes of the keeper, what it is. So, you think, could there be a part to play there as Ekwa takes a terrible free kick and it sails over the crossbar.
Terrible.
And the substitutions have been made. Hamir's coming off for Rusin.
He's upset.
Substitution for Sunderland.
Off he comes. And Mundell's coming off. Birmingham 2, Southampton 3. So 66th minute, double substitution. It's raining, it's sunny, it's cold, it's got everything. On comes Barr. Rusin up front, Job's having a word with him. Plymouth 0, Ipswich 1. As the Sunderland fans chanted Rusin's name. Gunn kicks the ball out through the middle. Sargent heads it across to the left to Giannoulis, who drives it up into the Sunderland penalty area, looking for Fashnacht here. Van Hooydonk's there as well, but Fashnacht's driven it right across the face and out to the left, and it's flicked inside by Styles to Ekwa into the penalty area. Silt, then O'Nien, and O'Nien will play it out to Hjelde now on the left-hand side. 0-0 still. Barr on the left here. Barr trying to find a way through past 3 Norwich players, plays it back to O'Nien in the end, and he plays it across to Silt on the right side of the penalty.
What are you doing?
Poor pass, and Gabriel Sara's put it over the bar. I'm not sure what Silt was doing there. Played it right into the path of the Brazilian, who couldn't believe his luck and was so shocked he put it over. 0-0.
Sometimes you've just got to try to go long. Yeah, it's nice trying to play your way out. Looks pretty.
Sometimes you just don't gamble, do you? Just get it clear. Silt then
that's good
opts
ball.
this time to play it as long as he possibly can down the right wing.
It's all right. Get him upfield. Get him up.
Bounces away though from Rusin for a throw to Norwich. Here's to Hanley. Hanley, foot on the ball. Rusin goes to close him down. Finds Kenny McLean. He's closed down by Job, comes back to Hanley. Rusin went to close him down again, but he plays it out to Ben Gibson. Job sprints across the pitch, but it's played down the touchline to Giannoulis. He has found Hume on his shoulder. It comes back again, and Hanley plays it to McLean. Barr comes sprinting in and blocks the attempted clearance out for a throw to Sunderland, which Hjelde will take. And he finds Dan Neal a few yards away from him on the halfway line, played back to Silt forwards to Styles, lays it off to Ekwa, looking for the run of Hume down the right wing, back into the penalty area to Styles on the right hand side, pulls it back here, blocked by Gabriel Sara, only cleared as far as Ekwa and Hume plays it back behind him to Silt now inside to Ekwa, third of the way inside the Norwich half, back onto halfway to Dan Neal. He comes forwards down the left hand side, out wide to Barr has to come past Stacey, flicks a lovely ball through to Hjelde, his cross driven in, out from Hanley. Barr gets on the end of it again, but this time Kenny McLean puts his right foot through it, and it onto the head of O'Nien. Down the left, that looked like a bit of a shove in the back of Hjelde by McLean, but Fashnacht's got it, out to McLean here on the right, and he plays it inside to Hanley, and back to the goalkeeper. Job goes to close him down. Angus Gunn lifts it down the right wing, and Barr's pushing and shoving Fashnacht. In goes Hjelde, and then Hjelde trying to get it from Gabriel Sara, pushes him over. Free kick to Norwich inside the Norwich half. Rotherham 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1. Gabriel Sara drives it out wide on the left wing. Giannoulis inside the Sunderland half. In the 70th minute, goalless. Gabriel Sara to McLean. McLean wide to Stacey. Back inside to McLean, looking for Gabriel Sara, who turns and opens some space into the penalty area. Back heels to Stacey. Curls one wide, well wide of the left post from 18 yards. Swansea 2, Blackburn 1. Referee blowed from he's just paused things for a second. He's happy now for it to resume. O'Nien passes the ball out to Dan Neal, closed down by Van Hooydonk. Brentford 2, Chelsea 1. Out on the right, Silt to Hume. Hume back to Jensen Silt. Now to Ekwa. Ekwa on the touchline. It's up towards Rusin. He's laid it off behind him, but it's won back by Gibson. Gibson taking this forwards now for Norwich. Edge of the penalty area, Sargent beaten to it, but it's driven by Borja Sainz at Patterson. Got his body right behind it. Sainz will probably felt he should have done better.
Yeah. Good save by Patterson.
Another critical save by Patterson. Has made 3 good saves, 2 of them against Sainz actually. So 0-0 it still is. Ball up to the other end. Rusin harrying Hanley. Played back to the keeper. Out again to Hanley on the right. Rusin continues to hunt it down, but it's swept up to the halfway line. Comes down off Gelder for O'Nien, then Neil saw it robbed, but then back to Neil from O'Nien, and Neil trying to find Barr down this left-hand wing, out to the wide left, inside to Dan Neil. Neil at the edge of the area trying to create an opening. Lovely ball through to Hume in the penalty area. Roll through underneath the feet of Callum Styles on the 6-yard line.
It was just behind him.
Goal was begging.
Great pass by Dan Neil.
In front of him.
What a great pass that was.
Lovely ball through, seeing the run through down that right side.
We look a lot better, don't we?
Yeah. Ball floats down the right. Kept in by the head of Fashnacht, who's limped away actually. Ball back to Hanley, now to Gabriel Sara, and back to Angus Gunn, and now just rolled out to Gabriel Sara. To the right here to Hanley. Hanley, Job goes to close him down, inside to Kenny McLean. McLean rolls it across to the left to Ben Gibson, and Gibson up to the halfway line, slips it to Kenny McLean, and he's in the centre circle. To his left is Ben Gibson. Stoke 2, Middlesbrough 0, and here in the middle it's laid off by Fashnacht. Up to Sargent, back out now on the right to Stacey, splashed past Van Hooijdonk. Giannoulis, his attempt to play it through the penalty area, blocked by Hume, and it's out for a throw to Norwich on the left. And another change, Rigg is coming on now for Sunderland.
For Styles?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? Carlisle 1, Reading 3. Yeah. So
Norwich are going to make another
they're
sub.
bringing on Liam Gibbs, former Ipswich Town midfielder, and it's Fashnacht, who'd picked up that knock just a few minutes ago. I think that's probably the reason he's coming off, although he's running off easily enough. So Gibbs, the second substitution for Norwich. Rigg, third substitution for Sunderland. 0-0, 74th minute. That's the Sunderland fans you hear on the far side. 1,673 of them.
They're making themselves heard, though.
They are. They're getting behind the team. The ball comes back here to Gibson, back to Hanley on the halfway line, and he in the centre circle now, looks up, plays it left to Gibson, and Gibson to Gabriel Sara. He turns and rolls it to Hanley again, back to the Brazilian. Rusin closes him down, played through, looking for Josh Sargent, comes back out to Job. Job, he's tackled, but the ball falls to Rigg. Rigg swings it out to the left wing here, looking for Barr, who brings it down, plays it back to Dan Neil, slips it inside to Barr. Barr out again on this left-hand side to Dan Neil. He plays it back to Ekwa, just in front of the centre circle, leaves it for Sealt, down the right to Hume. Hume now looking to try and find a way through, comes back to Ekwa, lays it off to Sealt. Sealt looks for Job, and Job is going to watch it drop into the hands of Angus Gunn, who rolls it to Ben Gibson. Gibson brings this out, trying to find the gap for Borja Sainz to go through in the centre circle, but Neil gets it away. It run back again by Gibson. It's hanging in the air, the ball played up towards Gibbs. Helder heads it away. It bounces in front of Sainz, Neil and McLean. McLean comes through with the ball. He's taking it to the corner of the penalty area. Going with him is Rigg. Oh, and it's headed away by Hjelde as the ball was swept in and comes out into midfield. Barr finds Ekwa up towards Rusin on the halfway line on the right-hand side, and Rusin's out wide on the touchline. He's got Rigg inside,
well done.
But a free kick.
Excellent, Rusin.
And a yellow card for Giannoulis.
That's the difference, isn't it? Rusin's willing to run.
Yeah. And this free kick on the right, 10 yards or so in from the touchline.
Doesn't half make a difference, doesn't it? When you've got somebody up front who's willing to run.
Willing to run at everybody. Chasing players down. Hume's going to take the free kick. Barr is out wide here. The Norwich line 20 yards out, and Hume curls this in. Sargent heads it out. Barr looks to bring it down and try and turn away from Van Hooijdonk, who's a big unit, but he's got past him. Barr! Oh, he almost curled it in himself from the angle, and in the end Ekwa trying to get it in as well. It came off the woodwork. It's come back out to Hjelde, headed out by Gabriel Sara, and Barr was desperately unlucky. Off the bar in the 77th minute.
Barr off the bar.
It was. What an angle as well, but he nearly squeezed it in. And play back up in the Sunderland half.
Bar to bar.
It was. And now Rigg out to the left. Hjelde. Behind him is Neil. Neil out wide again to Hjelde, rolls it to Barr, trying to take on Stacey, who's held him off and got the ball away, and rolls it out to the right here now, where Gibbs plays it through the middle to Sargent, but blocked by Sealt, through to Jobe, now Ekwa, Rigg again, and Sunderland are much, much better now in this second half.
Yeah.
Better shape, just generally looking a little bit more
of a threat.
Neil looks to get it down the left wing, just overhit it. Out its roll for a throw to Norwich City. 79th minute, goalless. Can Sunderland find a winner? Norwich with the throw. Stacey, headed away by Luke O'Nien. It bounces over, Jobe drops down to Rusin. Rusin snaffles it, but with his left foot drags it wide of the right post.
Unlucky. At least he looks lively, doesn't he?
He does look as though there is potentially a threat now up front for Sunderland. As the ball played wide to Giannoulis, blocked by Hume, comes back for Giannoulis to nod back to Gibson. Jobe continues the run into the penalty area. Gunn has to pass it out quickly to Hanley on the right here, and he's played it away into the middle to Ekwa. Ekwa now looking for Rigg. He slipped slightly, but he gets it back to Ekwa. He did really well there, Rigg. And it's played to Jobe, who's a mile offside. And the goal won't count.
That's what happens when you press high up, Nick. You know, a bit of pressure.
Well, now it's Sunderland applying the pressure on Norwich City. Gibson to Hanley here. Hanley to Gibbs. Gibbs in the middle of the Norwich half to Gabriel Sara, then wide left to Giannoulis. Up to the halfway line, Chris Rigg goes to close him down through to Borja Sainz. He's trying to get away from Ekwa, and he's won a free kick. Ekwa penalised. Spurs 1, Crystal Palace 1. We played bar a few seconds, 80 minutes. It's Norwich City 0, Sunderland 0. Here's Gabriel Sara out to Giannoulis, plays it back to Ben Gibson. Gibson just inside the Sunderland half, back into the centre circle to Kenny McLean. McLean down the left again to Gibson. Gibson swings across into the penalty area. Sargent gets his head on it, comes back down again for him. He's trying to tee it up, and he scores.
Look at it.
Josh Sargent managed to bring it down onto his right foot, and he drives it home in the 81st minute.
Again, Nick, we didn't deal with it. The ball's been out, been able to bounce. They've been juggling with the ball in the 6-yard box.
So 11 goals now in 17 appearances for the American international. And it's Norwich after that spell from Sunderland.
He's got up for the header. He's not caught it cleanly, but he's been able to battle. We've missed it. We've got 2-3 people around him, and he's still been able to hook the ball into the back of the net.
So 1-0 Norwich lead. And Sunderland have it all to do if they're going to get something from the game. Slight irony in the fact that they're looking so much better since the changes, and then they go 1-0 down.
Defensively, Nick, Ballard's a big miss.
Yeah.
And that's just shown there.
Yes. So Norwich City lead by a 1-0. We're in the 82nd minute, and Ben Gibson clearing as Chris Rigg tried to get in on the far side. And Norwich City, it's their fans now that you can hear making all the noise. Josh Sargent having given them the lead in the 81st minute. Hjelde here on the left, on halfway, back to Job. Job through to Ekwa, back again to Job. Now down Neil. Sargent in front of him, rolls it behind him to O'Nien, and across on the right to Sealt. And Sealt back to O'Nien. And out here on the left wing to Barr. And Barr trying to cut in,
great
looking
ball.
for the run of Rusyn down the left of the penalty area. Hanley goes with him. Barr gets it back to Job on the left-hand side here, into Hjelde. Hjelde immediately closed down by McLean, gets it out to Rusyn again on the left, and he plays it back to Luke O'Nien at the front of the centre circle, then to Sealt to his right-hand side. Sealt down the right wing to Hume. Hume back again to Jensen Sealt. Sealt back here now to O'Nien, and Neil out to Hjelde, looking for Barr down the left of the penalty area. Barr trying to get round Gibbs, battling with the Norwich midfielder, and the ball just creeps over the goal line for a goal kick to Norwich. '84th minute, Norwich leading 1-0. Angus Gunn collects the ball, and the referee thinks, indicating he wants him to get a move on. Players head upfield. It'll be a kick from Gunn. Players moving, gravitating towards this near side, the Norwich right. Gunn's kick, fairly central. Van Hooijdonk and O'Nien. O'Nien goes up, gets the ball into the centre circle. Hanley gets it through to McLean, who brought it down neatly, looking for Sargent on the shoulder of O'Nien, rolls it back to Gibbs behind him, back out to Josh Sargent on the right. He plays it back to Gabriel Sara, and he's back onto the halfway line to Hanley, who squares it to the left to Gibson. Gibson lifting one up down the right wing, looking for Stacey's run. Stacey brings it down in the corner. Hjelde goes to close him down, and it's played to Gibbs just behind him, and Gibbs back again to Gabriel Sara, and back onto halfway to Hanley. Then on to Gabriel Sara, back to Hanley, forwards to Gibbs, who's managed to just shake off Job, down the line to Stacey. Stacey gets it forwards again, but cut out by Hjelde, finds Rigg in the centre, tackled by Gabriel Sara, finds Van Hooijdonk. Van Hooijdonk now trying to run it through to Sargent on his left foot, slips slightly on the challenge from Sealt.
Oh, give it ball away.
And it was given away. But one back, Giannoulis to Gabriel Sara. Spurs 2, Crystal Palace 1. Gibson down the left wing again to Gabriel Sara. He's got Sainz inside of him. Sainz, Ekwa tries to close him down, but he skips away. Job tackles him. Ekwa has the ball. Now to Job. Job looking up. Where can he go? Neil, but he's blocked by Hanley. Left on the floor. Thought it was a free kick. The referee doesn't. and it's played by McLean through to Sainz. Sainz now looking for Stacey. Stacey into the penalty area, on the right-hand side of the 6-yard box into the side netting. Trying to stick with him was Barr, put him off just enough. Birmingham 3, Southampton 3, and Jobe is coming off, and coming on is Burstow.
Substitution for Sunderland, replacing number 7, Jobe.
Brentford 2, Chelsea 2. So it's the last changes that Sunderland can make in the 87th minute. Even though they've only made 4 substitutions, since their 3 changes have been made in the second half. So now down the right wing, Hume, Burstow through the middle, Rusin on the right, Rusin trying to get ahead of Gibson. He is beaten to it in the end by Giannoulis. Norwich are leading 1-0 if you're just joining us on BBC Radio Newcastle, and the ball comes back to Sealt on halfway. Sealt now to Luke O'Nien. O'Nien out to Hjelde on the left side. Hjelde to Barr, back to Hjelde, and back again to Luke O'Nien.
They're going to make another substitution, aren't they?
Looks like they are going to, isn't it? And the ball floats high in the air, back into the Sunderland half, comes back to Luke O'Nien. O'Nien out to Sealt on the right-hand side. Is it Sam McCallum they're bringing on? I'm not sure. The ball on halfway with Rigg. Wide left to Barr. Barr now dribbling at the edge of the penalty area on the left. He curls the ball into the box, and looking for it was Rigg. Got caught in the head by an outstretched boot. The ball's back to the keeper. Rigg's down, having been kicked in the head. The referee's finally acknowledged it. He took quite a kick at the back of the head as he dipped low to try and head it from the penalty spot. I'm sure he felt that.
Yeah. He was brave.
He was brave. I mean, he absolutely threw himself. He's got himself up to his feet. So coming off is Sainz. And coming on is Jacob Sorensen. Or Jakob Sorensen. So the 25-year-old Dane comes on.
Sargent's coming off.
And Sargent's coming off.
And McCallum's going on, isn't he?
It's Sam McCallum, yeah. Double switch then made by David Wagner in the 89th minute, with Norwich leading 1-0. A drop ball, I think. The referee's got the ball back with Angus Gunn. Changes then made. They brought on a defender, a left back, and they brought on a defensive midfielder. So they're looking to cling on to their 1-0 lead, Norwich. The goal coming in the 81st minute. Stacey hooks the ball away, picked up by Dan Neil in his own half, played away from Sorensen and back to O'Nien and out to the left to Hjelde. Hjelde looking for Burstow. It looked like a handball, but no appeals. Out to Stacey. Hjelde trying to get the ball off the right back, finds Burstow. Burstow now blocked by Gibbs. Stacey gets the ball away. Up to the chest of O'Nien. Oh, and then O'Nien's caught. And Sorensen, is he going to get a yellow card? Only a second after he's been on. O'Nien's flat on his back. The book is out. Sorensen will find his name in it.
Today's official attendance is 26,600.
Yellow card then for Sorensen in the 90th minute. He's only been on a minute. O'Nien picks himself up. The attendance again 26,668. The capacity here is 27,360, so it's not far short of that. And there's segregation, of course. Here's Neil bringing this on down the right-hand side for Hume, back to Sealt. We've got 5 minutes to play. That's 5 minutes added time. We played the 90. It's 1-0 to Norwich. Here's Ekwa. Ekwa now driving it wide right from halfway to Hume. Hume, McCallum trying to stab the ball away, gets it back to Neil. And Neil Van Hooijdonk plays it, gets in front of him, and it's played back to Ekwa. Ekwa in the centre circle to his left to Luke O'Nien. Down the left wing now to Hjelde. Hjelde halfway inside the Norwich half, trying to get past Gibbs, who's trying to push him, but the ball comes back to Stacey, then breaks for Barr on the left, inside to Ekwa, who gets it back to O'Nien, inside to Neil. Neil quickly closed down, but he gets the ball through to Hjelde, who drives it into Rusin, lays it off the rig. He couldn't get his foot round it properly. Back down from Hume, cleared by McLean.
Tell you what, great pass again by Daniel. He's made 2 great passes this afternoon.
Spurs 3, Crystal Palace 1. 1-0 to Norwich. Is Silt inside to Ekwa, just in the Norwich half, and Ekwa rolls it to Luke O'Nien. Down the left wing to Barr. Gibbs comes to close him down. Barr takes him on the left, onto his right, crosses, looking to try and get it through to 3-4 players there, but headed away by Gibson. Drops to Hume on the right, pulled it back to Silt. Silt now putting it in the box, and it's Rusin.
Rusin, unlucky.
Heads it straight at the keeper. Either side of him, at least it would have forced him more of a save.
We've been able to get men in the box though, Nick.
Yeah.
We had 3 or 4 there in the box.
You begin to think what could have happened earlier, as Burstow's doing up his laces now. He gets up on his feet and jogs just out in front of Angus Gunn. We played 2 minutes of the 5 as Gunn drives this upfield again down the right, flicked on by Van Hooijdonk, looking for the run of Gabriel Sara. Across comes Silt to block him, and it's behind for a corner. Norwich's 6th corner. Gabriel Sara will take it. Sunderland pulling everybody back into their penalty area. We're in the 93rd minute, and Sorensen jogs down as well into the corner. I guess they're going to take it short. If you bring on a couple of defenders, yeah, here you are. It's played short in the corner. Trying to win it back is Dan Neil. Sorensen has his back to him. Neil managed to get a foot to it. Gabriel Sara does as well. And then finally the flag is up for a free kick, I think, to Sunderland. Played nearly 3 minutes of the minimum 5. Luke O'Nien will take the free kick back to the keeper. Patterson plays it out to O'Nien. He sweeps it across to Ekwa on the far side of the penalty area, and Ekwa now driving on down the right to Hume, and Hume back inside to Chris Rigg, who drives it up through the middle.
Pass.
Burstow takes it on his chest, but Hanley whips it off him at the edge of the penalty area and onto the goal line. Rusin trying to win it off Gibson. He managed to distract him, pushing the back of Barr surely, but Stacey comes away with the ball, leaves it inside for Sorensen. Up to O'Nien, now Neil, and back to Hume in the Sunderland half. Down the left to O'Nien, down the wing again to Barr. Barr, he's got to slip it inside if he can. He blocks an attempt to clear it. Rusin, Hanley's got his arms round him, and he stabbed it away, Hanley, somehow, and across comes McLean and clears this back up onto the halfway line, and we've got just over a minute left. Ekwa back to Hume. Hume turns in front of Van Hooijdonk, tries to get the ball now forward down the right to Rigg. Another ball played through the middle, cut out by Gibson. It drops to Seal, but he's penalised as a foul. A Norwich free kick. And 3-0 to Newcastle at the end of their game at St James's Park. Fulham 3, Brighton 0. And Giannoulis has taken his time in picking himself up. Everton 1, West Ham 2. Sweet for David Moyes, obviously. And Giannoulis is on his feet now. We're in the last few seconds of the 5 minutes. We'll get another 30 seconds to a minute, I suspect, for this free kick, for that foul. And the free kick's going to be taken by Angus Gunn. Everybody now in the Sunderland half. Norwich leading 1-0. We're into that 6th minute of added time. The ball bounces out. It's a throw to Sunderland, quickly taken by Hume. O'Nien now has got to bring this out, drives it out quickly to Barr, straight out. And I think that's it. The referee has blown for full time. Norwich have won the game 1-0, ironically, after a spell in which Sunderland made changes and were looking the attacking threat.
Once we'd made them changes, Nick, we looked a lot more of a threat. We had more pressure. We had the likes of Rusin. You know, in that little, 25 minutes he came on, you know, he made more runs than Hamir made in the old game. You know, he looked bright. He looked like he wanted to get onto things, make things happen. We didn't have that in the first 70 minutes of the game. You know, he did make a difference. But again, you look at the goal which we conceded, you've got to say it was a poor goal. You know, we've got not just one opportunity to clear the ball, we had 2 or 3 opportunities to clear the ball, and he was you know, he's the one who's gone up for the ball. Sargent's gone up for the header, he hasn't headed it properly, it's bounced, we've tried to clear it, it bounced again, and he's hooked the ball in the back of the net.
I can see from Mike Dodd's point of view when he's talked about these 3 games this week, Norwich, Leicester and Southampton, and the logistics of the travel and everything else, I can see why he's decided to play Hamir today, try and keep Rusin fresh. And it didn't work, did it? It just didn't work.
But yeah, you can. It depends on which way you want to look at it. What do you want to keep him fresh for? Do you want to keep him fresh for the Leicester game and the Southampton game, or do you want to put him in and then let him hopefully be able to make something happen, maybe at Norwich or even at Leicester on Tuesday, and then leave him out at Southampton? You know, again, it's which way you want to look at it. But there again, you put a player in, you expect a lot more work from that player.
I think ultimately that's what when you look at it, you'd expect more of him. You look at the way Rusin ran about when he came on, that's what you'd expect Hamir to have done.
But saying that, Nick, you know, we're seeing the game from up here. You know, we're getting annoyed. But surely the players who's on the pitch should be able to get that message across to him here and say, look, you need to do a lot more. Give us an outlet. You know, go and press people. Put yourself about. Make them know that you're in the game. You know, Rusin's come on, and that little, 20 minutes he's had on, he's let them know they've been in the game. He's had a couple of shots. He's had a header that's been saved.
Danny Bart just giving Pierre Ekwer a hug.
Cheers for the stream, guys. Thank you very much. Sorry for the result, and there'll be more videos coming up soon. Loads of new stuff coming, loads of new videos through the week, and we will catch you for the next game if you dare watch. See you guys later on.